favourite playground at the Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre. We've got day 4 of the NBL Blitz coming up. I'm Kelsey Brown. I'm here with Jack Hevron. Jack, in game 1, we've got the New Zealand Breakers up against the JackJumpers.
I'm interested to see more of the New Zealand Breakers. I just wonder whether a few people are sleeping on New Zealand first up. Their great first up win should give them a lot of confidence going into game 2.
And in game 2 tonight, we have the Perth Wildcats up against the 36ers.
Well, normally with Perth, we talk about spreading the load offensively. It's always about Bryce. That's what they did really well in the first game. So more of that for Adelaide. We can't hide it. They were very disappointing in game 1. They've got to make some adjustments tonight.
You can catch all the action on KO Freebies. Let's get into it.
Stay up to date with all the latest direct from the NBL?
That is enormous!
Well, download the free NBL app now. It's jam-packed with live scores, stats, exclusive content, and much more. Get it from the App Store and Google Play now.
Hello and welcome to the Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre. I'm Felix Von Hoff. This here is Liam Santa Maria, the mastermind behind a lot of things going on in NBL 23-24. I'll tell you what, we got the New Zealand Breakers and the Tasmanian JackJumpers getting ready to go head-to-head here. Both teams with successful seasons previously, and of course it is a doubleheader. Perth and the 36ers coming up next. The two teams that had great seasons last year, always looking to improve, especially the Breakers, just looking to go one better.
Yeah, excited to see this one. But it's going to be a fun night of action, both games, as you mentioned. But you're right, these two teams both took part in playoff action last year. Of course, we know the JackJumpers under Scott Roth. They have the infrastructure in place, and they've done that in both years of their existence. And, you know, the Breakers, man, they were one win away, maybe one quarter away from hoisting that championship trophy. So both coming off wins in their opening game of the Blitz and appear to be settling into pre-season and playing pretty well. So excited to see them go head-to-head.
Well, you mentioned both teams coming off wins. New Zealand, a 26-point win over Adelaide on a Sunday, and Tasmania, a 13-point win over South East Melbourne. Now, before we dive too deep into this game, we've got a whole game to talk about these teams. Your thoughts so far over the Blitz? Of course, you're heavily involved with the Next Stars program, but I'm going to give you a small break from only having to talk about those players. What's impressed you so far across the Blitz?
I think the teams are playing at a really high level for pre-season action. That's what stood out to me. Now, while I will admit, over the first couple of nights, I was sort of whining and dining a little bit with the with the NBA scouts, so I wasn't watching as every play as closely as I usually do. But you can see if you're in the arena or if you're watching on from home. These teams are playing at a high level. Now, we talked about it a little bit last night. I think one of the reasons is the Blitz this year is really close to the start of the regular season, so guys are popping because they're ready to go for opening night. The other thing is, with all those NBA eyeballs in the arena, everybody wants to play well. They want to play well as a team, of course, but each one of these individuals is amped and ready to impress.
Well, there's a lot of standout youth, but there's also some veteran guys that still have that NBA chip. Well, not necessarily a chip on their shoulder with a guy like Matthew Dellavedova, but he's one where we've seen, he's been in the NBA. He's still a chance to go back in the future, coming out and having 17 points in 5 minutes. Now, are we going to see that in the regular season from Delhi?
Right.
Maybe not that sort of aggression, but you can tell when all those eyeballs are on, they're giving absolutely 100%.
100%, absolutely. And we talk about that, the Next Stars program, right? One of the cool things is that it helps to make the NBL attractive to play in. For local guys, of course, guys like Will Magnay got NBA opportunities because there are NBA eyeballs on the NBL, but imports as well. So you look at a guy like Tyler Cook, what he was doing last night, he's trying to get back in the league. Look at a guy like Parker Jackson Cartwright, what he did in their opening game, and will be looking to do tonight. So, yeah, everyone's trying to put their best foot forward.
Now, we talk about the New Zealand Breakers, of course, only being one quarter, one win away. When you go into a season off getting so close. The mentality heading into it, there's a few new faces in this team, but a lot of the guys we've seen were guys that competed in that team. How does your mentality go going into this year?
Well, both of these teams, I feel, have that type of situation to deal with, because the JackJumpers, they may not have been in the grand final series last year, but they were one win away from being in there. And, of course, we know they were in that championship battle the year prior. So they feel like they're right on the edge of breaking through and hoisting the trophy. And, of course, the Breakers, as we know, were right there. Modi Mayor is such a spectacular coach that he's going to have them primed for another tilt at the title. So the idea is, well, where do we need to improve from what we served up last year? So for the Breakers, they're looking to make sure that they're a little bit better with their half-court execution, so that they can consistently score throughout ball games. They're elite defensively. And also, let's stay on top of our fouls. They were one of the league leaders in fouls last season and foul rate, and they were giving up a lot of free throws. For the JackJumpers, well, they're trying to tilt their roster a little bit towards the offense, to say, all right, let's see if we can maintain the high level of D we've played with the guys that you've got on the screen there, McVeigh and Bairstow and Sean McDonald. But let's bring in some other guys that can help us tick the scoreboard over. Jordan Crawford can do that. Marcus Lee is going to be able to do that as a pick-and-roll threat. So both teams just trying to tinker a little bit with who they are and what they do to try to get over the top.
We're talking about a couple of the changes. You talk about Jordan Crawford coming in, who's a guy who led the scoring in the Turkish league. Now, for those who don't know much about some of these international leagues, Turkey's a strong league.
Yeah.
And anyone who's leading the scoring over there, I feel like that translates fairly well to be able to perform. Now, he wasn't in his first game here for the JackJumpers. He was about 7, 6, and 8. He was almost approaching triple-double territory, which isn't usually something we see from him. But it'll be interesting to see when that big breakout scoring game comes for him.
It's coming around the corner.
Within the next 2 hours?
It might be coming this evening, because, look, he's a baller. He's a legit guy. Scott Roth knew exactly what he was doing. Yes, he's 5'6", so he's diminutive. And he's going to have his challenges at different times on switches and the like at the defensive end. But offensively, man, he's just going to put points on the board. He's going to drop dimes. He's going to be a really, really tough cover. I think he's going to be a star of the league.
Well, speaking of 5'6" and diminutive, Parker Jackson Cartwright was just causing terrors for the guards of the Adelaide 36ers. And he's one of those guys when incredibly unassuming. He's the shortest player in the club's history.
Yep.
And not just short. Usually when you get a short guy, they're usually pretty stocky as well. Jordan Crawford's got a bit of muscle on him. Parker Jackson Cartwright could be the most unassuming player I've seen in a long time since Zach Delaney was in the league.
Okay.
Now, very different players, but his ability to produce on offense and just that tenacious defense, you can see how he's gotten so far in his career with a smaller frame like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's a baller too. Former German League MVP. And I put up big numbers the other night, didn't he? 17 and 8 with 4 steals. And I tell you, he's very excited about tonight because he's planning on getting in the block and taking Jordan Crawford down low and showing what he can do closer to the bucket. So that's going to be a really fun matchup, watching those two little terriers going at each other 94 feet of the floor.
You got to take those opportunities when you can get them. And another thing announced by the NBL today, Scottie Pippen coming down under a massive get. Of course, he's going to be here for the beginning of the NBL season not too long from now. That is huge. You talk about having Luke Longley and Scottie Pippen in the one room, I hope. I assume Luke Longley will be down for that as well.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting alongside him. Yeah, so cool. Big-time star power. One of the all-time greats of the league, ready to come and lend his profile to the start of what's going to be a spectacular season.
Oh, it's huge. And Luke Longley, a guy, I'll give you a quick story before. I was sitting courtside yesterday, and there was someone next to me who jumped in and said, hey, can you move down one seat? Guess who the guy was that I had to say, I'm sorry, mate, but can you move on because this is my seat?
Paul Smith?
Luke Longley. Paul Smith.
Wow.
Here we go. Someone we didn't speak of as well, Milton Doyle, returning a huge get, arguably the most important returner for the JackJumpers by a long margin.
One of those guys we were all hoping would re-sign during the off-season. We know how good he is, all NBL first team, and we know how big time he is for this JackJumpers squad.
Marcus Lee and Mango Mathiang set to take it. Of course, Mathiang didn't quite get a chance to go over and play for the South Sudanese national team at the World Cup. He was part of that squad throughout those lead-up games, and another guy who should be able to break into that job. And Jordan Crawford, the man that Liam Santamaria reckons is going to go off for a massive game tonight.
Let's go.
Gets it started under the pressure from Jackson Cartwright. Doyle And you can already see the pressure from the New Zealand Breakers. They're right up and in active hands all game. Doyle can't get the first to drop. Crawford. Looks to work, finds the mismatch on the... Gets it low to Drimmick, another addition. We talk about having to bring in offensive star power to this team. He's someone from the outside who's really going to help this team.
Yeah, nice movement off the ball, Anthony Drimmick. Good pickup. Yeah, you know, there was some movement in that roster with Matt Kenyon, Sam McDaniel moving out. Drimmick comes in. He's just a pro, a veteran of the league, and he caught Justinian Jessup napping on that possession.
Jackson Cartwright, the good defense from Crawford. Cheatham. Jessup, a former next star, gets that one to drop. And a next star who's gone through the process and returned to the league.
Did terrific things in Spain last season in the ACB. Look at Crawford go to work. Oh my. Had Matiang to score over, couldn't quite get it done.
Cheatham from the outside threw down a monster dunk in their last game against the 36ers. You've seen that one all over the NBL social media, and I'll tell you what, the cameraman was in the perfect position to capture that one.
There's Murdy Mayor. He's got the attention of Scott Butler, head of the referees.
If you're familiar with Murdy Mayor's coaching style, he should have the attention of most people in the venue by the end of the game. As Lee, just a little errant pass.
Marcus Lee, savvy pickup from the JackJumpers over the course of the off-season. Of course, we all thought Melbourne United would probably re-sign him, but with the opportunity to bring Joe Luala-Chul back, you've got Ariel Hogporty coming back from injury. All of a sudden, Marcus Lee's available, and the JackJumpers snapped him up.
Well, he's a guy that was instrumental in the turnaround for Melbourne United's season. We look at that back half of the season for them. They were one of the better teams in the league, and you can almost pinpoint that on the arrival of the big man.
And, well, he's a rim protector, and he brings a defensive presence. He's a lob threat offensively, but what the JackJumpers like is they want everybody to get up and pressure the ball. So you need to have someone protecting the rim behind that. The challenge for Marcus Lee is this. Can he get up to the level of the screen and execute more aggressive pick and roll coverages?
Good defense there by the JackJumpers, and they're off. Drimmick through the middle. Gets that one over to finish.
And that's the threat of Marcus Lee, Felix, as a lob guy on the roll, keeping the defender at home and opening up the lane for Anthony Drimmick to finish.
Jackson Cartwright straight by the defender. Gets it up and gets that one to go. And you talk about a guy just playing above his size.
That's a tough take. He's so dynamic off the bounce, and he wins the opening battle against Jordan Crawford. That's 2 fouls he's drawn on Crawford in the opening couple of minutes of the game. So Crawford takes a seat, Sean McDonald checks in, and Parker Jackson Cartwright heads to the free throw line.
And you speak about a lob threat, you get the same thing with Mathiang, which happened on the same end there. Lee wasn't able to get over in time. And Sean McDonald, amazingly, a guy that's going to be playing rotation minutes this year, and he's going to have a 20-point game at some point during this year. Still a development player, which is amazing.
Yeah, development player really by label only. Look, he's the first guy off the bench. He's going to play major minutes. He's going to play 20, 25 minutes a game because, he has become a genuine high-level NBL producer. So super important to this team and just adds to the depth of this lineup.
And you look at the strength of some of the development players across the league. You look at, Kyle Zunick started a game for Perth as a development player last season. It's unbelievable from where that position used to be as a total development spot. It's now almost an excuse to be able to get one of these younger guys in as an extra guy on your roster, and it speaks to the strength of the league.
Absolutely. The strength of Parker Jackson Cartwright showing out in the early going here. The steal there. Turnover for the Breakers. But it's a really good point you make. In fact, there were some coaches around the league a few years ago who started that process. Yeah. Melbourne United were particularly good at it, bringing in a guy each year as a development player who was actually going to be an important guy for that team. You go back to like Kyle Adnam and these type of players. Heck, they had Mason Peatling as a starter, as a DP on a championship-winning squad. So, yeah, teams around the league are starting to do that more and more.
Drimmick attacks Jessup. Can't get that to fall, but he'll be at the line for 2.
Drimmick looks like he's very comfortable in the green and yellow.
I think Drimmick's never had any troubles on that end of the floor. He is a potent offensive player. You look back to, you know, the player that just committed the foul there in Jessup, another Boise State product.
Yeah, true. I always really like when Anthony Drimmick's on the attack. Like that possession right there, putting it on the floor, attacking the rim, getting to the free throw line. At Boise State, he was a bit of a sniper.
Boise State, he was a sniper, but he was putting up some huge numbers.
Yeah. Well, he was wasn't he setting all-time school records?
Yeah, all-time school
makes?
records. He went there with John Riley, was of course coaching there at the time.
And then in his first few years in the NBL, he didn't really find his range and rhythm from long distance at Adelaide.
It's always tough when players come out of a college system and they have to adjust to a pro system, because we see a lot of college players can come and average, you know, 9, 10 assists with their certain college team because they play a certain way and then come out and then struggle to distribute the ball at a professional level. Cartwright, errant pass. And Jack McVeigh, of course, elevated to the vice captaincy of this team. If you follow him on Twitter, you can see the motivational tweets. And
is he running like motivational seminars with the group as part of that role?
He's on a Tony Robbins type
Love it.
pathway, which is fantastic. But this JackJumpers team is Jackson Cartwright attacks it. And we speak about a lob threat. Right up top. And there it was, you mentioned before, having a lob threat on that side of the court. It makes it almost impossible to defend. As Lee attacking to the rim, gets that one to go and one.
Good take, Marcus Lee. We don't see a lot of that. Wheeling and dealing off the bounce, taking his primary defender and attacking the rim. That was impressive, but not as impressive as what took place down the other end. Now, he might even end up with more points for it, but oh boy. The timing and the connection between Jackson Cartwright and Cheatham was pretty.
Drimmick with his second offensive board. Doyle gets out to McDonald, the development player, gets it to fly. That's going to be good for three.
Beautiful action. What the JackJumpers do so well, they execute. They know their stuff, they're very well drilled. Beautiful execution, the flare screen, catch and shoot for McDonald.
And Cartwright just causing problems off the high on ball. Jessup. The JackJumpers, just the breakers, just having success off these high on balls, attacking the paint downhill, and a guy with speed like Jackson Cartwright, you speak about the lob threat on the other side. It makes for some pretty exciting basketball.
Yeah, and you know what they're trying to do is they're trying to go at Marcus Lee in those coverages. Now, he checks out because Scott Roth is trying to train Lee up into being a hard show pick and roll defender. Now, it really isn't. It's not what he does. He's a drops guy. So they're trying to go through that process here in preseason, and there he picks up the personal.
Glidden again into Mathiang and gets that one to go on the head of Jack McVeigh.
Beautiful pass, Cam Glidden.
And one thing that Mathiang does so well is keeps the ball up. Never drops the ball when he catches it. And a guy his size, pretty much the only way the defender's going to be able to get it is if they can swipe it down low. As Drimmick again being aggressive.
McVeigh.
He's got some energy.
He's frustrated. He's still smiling, but he's frustrated. Can't believe he didn't finish that putback.
No, he's a fantastic personality, not just for the JackJumpers, for the league. Guys that are willing to get, you know, knee deep in the community involvement. On court, he's always up and about. He's always a positive energy guy. And he speaks about it a lot online, and you know, he has his podcasts and things of that nature that he really gets deep into that style of play and teammate.
Oh yeah, shout out the Shooters Pod. Jack McVeigh and Darren Barker. Always a great listen.
Delaney can't get that one to Robert, an exciting guy coming back into this Breakers roster.
Yeah, what a luxury to bring Tim Delaney off the bench. So Mathiang comes out, Cheatham slides up to the 5, and Delaney comes in.
McVeigh gets the matchup on Cheatham. Out to Doyle. Jackson Cartwright just so quick. Delaney can't get that one to fall, and as we'd expect with two defensive orientated teams, a low scoring affair. Krislovich. 2-point lead, a little under 5 minutes to go in the first.
Yeah, it's a grind. No doubt about it. And that's what you'll see when these two teams come up against each other. Two very, very savvy coaches. You know, yes, it's preseason, and everybody wants to see points put on the board, and these coaches want their teams to score for sure. But they also know that the secret to success in the NBL is defending at a high level. We haven't seen a lot of it in the Blitz thus far, as we get another look at the lob from Jackson Cartwright. He wasn't the roll man off the pick, Zylan Cheatham, just sliding along the baseline and getting above the rim.
Well, when I first saw it, I was thinking Mathiang was going to be coming across for that as roll guy, and as you mentioned, Cheatham. But what a luxury to have two athletes like that can both contest for the lob.
Well, Cheatham in particular, he's going to give us some incredible highlights over the course of the season. He's very versatile. He started at the 4, he's now at the 5. Modi Mayor, chatting with him, he really wants to find ways at times to play him at the 3, because you know, the guys that will guard him at that position will find things very difficult because he's so athletic and he's so mobile as well. So it's going to be fun to see the way Modi Mayor moves him around, as he's almost like the queen on the chessboard who can do so many things.
What's going to be interesting with this team, of course, Will McDowell-White, their star point guard, out with a wrist injury at the moment. The timeline on him getting back into this team, and we'll speak to him in the second quarter. He's going to sit down with us to have a chat. But that timeline, when do we expect to see him back?
Good question. Let's wait to get it from the horse's mouth. Because no doubt, whatever I say will be wrong. And it won't take, it'll take about 5 minutes
I did try to throw you under the bus there.
to find out the truth.
Doyle gets to the mid-range, gets that one to fall.
Oh, that's just classic Milton Doyle. Nothing fancy, just the mid-range pull-up, bang.
Isaiah Liafa, we speak about development players. 26-point game, I believe, as a development player for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Yep. And just proved to be pivotal for them that season. And, of course, signed with them for a year, then moved on and wanted to move home, and is now suiting up with the Breakers for the last 2 seasons. Steindl and the Breakers just pushing teams to play. You notice every possession starting out near the half-court line, pushing guys out of their sets as Doyle takes it through the body of Finn Delaney. Can't get that to fall, and the Breakers are away. Delaney just may have got away with one there, and the versatility of Cheatham on the outside doesn't pay dividends that time for the Breakers. Krislovich. And just this pressure, it's tough to get into your offense against this. Hands in. And we see it right there as Liafa picks it away. Jackson Cartwright on the break.
Great kick ahead pass. Liafa. You're right, the pressure, the intensity, they're physical, they're working hard, fighting over picks.
McVeigh takes it in. Draws the foul there on Delaney, but you look at what that sort of defensive pressure does. It causes you to think, I want this guy off me. What am I going to do? I'm going to break the offense early and do as what Jack McVeigh there. You end up with the foul and you go to the free throw line. But it can be dangerous sometimes if you spend your whole game cutting the offense off early.
Well, that's what they're feeling right now, the JackJumpers. Like, it's real hard yakka at the offensive end. And it was the secret to New Zealand's success last season. I mean, we all enjoyed Will McDowell-White, the float game, and punishing the unders with the three-point hits. We enjoyed Barry Brown Jr. lighting it up and having some high-scoring nights. But it was the defense. It was the fact that they were a top 2 defense all season long. That was the secret to their success, and it's what Modi Mayor has been preaching here in the preseason.
As Majok subs into the game, a guy that had success, of course, with the South Sudanese national team in the World Cup. What a story that was.
Unbelievable. He played a really big role in it too. Majuk Deng, spoke to him earlier this morning and offered congratulations. They're going to the Olympics.
Unbelievable when you hear those stories of, playing with eagles swirling above on an outdoor court.
Yep.
It's just unbelievable, the pride that they played with throughout that tournament.
Yeah, such a young country, and they've gone through so much as a population and continue to do so. So a real binding force, that group, Majuk and so many other guys around the NBL, whether they were actually in the team or in the squad or had played a big role in the qualifying process. really, really cool.
It was amazing, even, you know, to play with guys like Kwani, who were just playing at the NBL 1 level. There was a couple of them still coming in there that, you know, it's quite amazing to see them get that far when you look at the talent-loaded squads that they beat.
Yeah, for sure. Junior Madut, a part of that process as well, checking into the game for the JackJumpers. So it's really, really cool.
JackJumpers jersey on after an impressive season with Southeast. Majok Deng with the first to go. It's always so hard to watch these preseason games and not read too much into it, into individual performances, into team performances. It's especially from an import standard. You know, guys like Cheatham, if you come in and have, you know, some big games to start with, all of a sudden the hype's there, and can you set the hype up too high, too early? It's a very interesting mental game.
I think the one thing you've got to do is not look so much at the numbers, but it's about the eye test, I think, in preseason. And then over the course of the year, you can start to analyze the numbers and what people are putting up, their efficiency, the analytics and the like. But in preseason, how do they look? As the alpha draws the foul and he gets to the free throw line, do they look like they're going to fit that system? Do they look like they're going to be a handful? Because, look, guys will play limited minutes in a lot of these games, but what kind of production can they get done in that time? So, you know, you saw a guy like Tyler Cook yesterday. He passed the eye test in a very big way. Zylan Cheatham, he's as advertised as an athlete, 100%. We're starting to just get to know a little bit about all the other different things that he can do. Justinian Jessup, the stroke looks nice early in preseason. So, you know, you can start to get a bit of a sense of what these guys are going to be like if you're watching the game closely.
Well, I'm excited to watch Jessup this year, especially because players make such a jump within those first 3 years of playing, and that's where you get the breakout years, and all of a sudden it's almost an unrecognisable player. So I'm interested to see how Jessup can improve from when we saw him in the early days.
Well, again, for me, with Jessup, he's not going to put up massive numbers this season. But he's an important piece to the puzzle for this team, as will be Mantas Ripstavicius, the next star, because they need three-point shooting for their spacing of their offense. You want Will McDowell-White and Parker Jackson-Cartwright to operate in pick and rolls with Matiang and Cheatham, Finn Delaney and the like. Well, you got to have guys that are stretching the defense on the perimeter.
And again, that defensive wreaking havoc from the breakers as Glidden takes it in. And he's going to hand it off to Fotu, who's going to head to the line.
Glidden, this is going to be his third dime here of the first quarter. Shot the heck out of it in their opening game. And 5 of 5 from long range, 19 points in 13 minutes. And some really nice passes from him in the first quarter tonight.
Fotu, one of the many players throughout this league coming off a World Cup campaign.
Fotu is an interesting one for me. Got my eyes on what kind of improvement we see from him this year. You know, he comes into the league with a lot of upside, a lot of potential, and you know, now he's starting to get to the point where I think the organization and others around the league want to start seeing it a little bit more on a regular basis. Now, some of that comes with playing time, and the challenge for him is to earn that time on a daily basis at practice and when he gets his opportunities on game night.
Liafa with the mismatch up top. Looks to work, step back, bucket. And we're going to get a whistle away from the ball.
Oh, geez, they're in the bonus as well. One of those phantom calls when neither team was quite sure what was being whistled, but he got Majuk Deng for a little extra physicality underneath. But yeah, that's Liafa doing his thing off the bounce. He's a very handy piece because he can play the point like he is right now, but you can play him alongside a Will McDowell-White or a Parker Jackson-Cartwright.
Whenever you can have a guy that can come in and be able to create their own shot like that, there's countless times you can end up at the end of the shot clock and you can't always just go to Jackson-Cartwright off the high on ball. You need the guys who can get a mismatch like that and go off their own bat, either take it to the rim or step back. And Dane Pinot at the line at the moment, of course, coming over from the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, playing 4 years over there, and a guy that just brings a bit of rebounding, a bit of toughness. I remember he almost had a 20-20 game.
He sure did.
At one stage of his career. He's been plagued through injuries since then. Steindl. Deng drives hard baseline. Ooh. Crawford yet to impact the scoreboard. Gets it over to Deng, who flushes that one to the corner. I'm sure JackJumpers fans will hope to see Crawford just light up soon. Just taking his time, and you can see a lot of players in these sort of situations don't necessarily get out of first gear, but Liafa again from outside. Gets that one to fall. He's off to a hot start.
Oh, he's feeling it. Isaiah Liafa, they're going to need to start to find him. Stay attached. That time Crawford getting caught up on the pick, and Liafa got open.
And again, the JackJumpers just under some serious pressure from the outside as Lee finds the match up on Pinot. Fades away. He's going to draw the foul, and that one's going to drop.
That's a tough shot. I thought that was pretty good defense from Pinot to begin with. Held his ground as Lee was banging away, and then really didn't need to foul. You know, he had him fading. That's not really Marcus Lee's bag, to be honest. So in the end, he gets an N1 opportunity, and Pinot picks up the personal.
Your expectations for Crawford this year from a scoring perspective? You said you expect to see big things from him this year. Where do you sort of put him around that mark?
I think he's going to average, I'm going to say, around 14, 15 points per game.
And you've got to remember, this isn't a team that's going to be scoring bucket loads of points.
No, and if you're a JackJumper fan and you're thinking and you're looking at the scoreboard and you say, hey, we've got this high-scoring point guard and he hasn't scored so far and so on and so forth, don't worry. Jordan Crawford is going to be legit this season. He's going to, and Scott Roth doesn't want guys to press and go individual. He's going to be a very good player this season. Don't worry about the preseason.
Shot clock's turned off. Liafa with the ball in his hand, but it's going to be made all that much easier with an off-ball foul. And the Breakers are going to head to the line. The JackJumpers over the limit.
Well, it's been another high fouling quarter. We saw Southeast Melbourne and Sydney racking up the fouls last night, and it's been similar here today. Both teams over the limit, and we've seen 15 free throws shot already.
An interesting stat about Cam Glidden. He's a perfect 8-0 when he scores over 25 points.
In NBL regular season games.
NBL regular season games.
There you go.
Thought you were about to prove me wrong there, because you had one in the back of your mind when he went for 30 and a loss.
Oh, hold on, let me think on it.
And again, the full court pressure here, but manages to get it over with a bit of friendly fire in the backcourt. Milton Doyle.
Oh no. Glidden and Liafa falling over each other.
Wonder if you get a replay on that one in the backcourt. A bit of friendly fire. You see him laying in the back there, Milton Doyle doing a good job to draw the foul. Doyle, of course, all NBL first team last season, retained by the JackJumpers, a very, very noteworthy returner. .6 on the clock, a 2-point lead for the JackJumpers, and Liafa's going to dribble this one out. Drumick leads the way for the JackJumpers with 6. Cartwright with the 5, Glidden with the 5. Pretty spread scoring for the New Zealand Breakers.
Yeah, it was Isaiah Liafa who caught fire there for a hot little minute. Scored 9 points. And it was late in that quarter where these teams found a little bit of point production. A lot of it from the free throw line. The JackJumpers 9 of 10 from the stripe. The Breakers left a couple there. They're 6 of 9. So plenty of fouls drawn. Both teams got in foul trouble early in that quarter. There you see the shooting percentage is 62% from the Breakers. Very, very healthy. A 7 of 9 from two-point territory.
Which speaks to the pace of both of these teams. The fact that we've got 62%, 50%, we're still just sitting at 23 to 25. That to me sounds like a 40 to 45 quarter.
Yeah, you see the JackJumpers with a slight advantage on the glass. Both teams, and especially at the offensive end, they were able to grab 4 offensive rebounds, which gave them some extra possessions. But it was a tightly contested, tough one. There you see it was Liafa really that got himself going a little big. It's always going to be a good spread of scoring from the JackJumpers. And now that's where we've landed, a 2-point advantage to the Jackies at quarter time. Well, Felix, my man, is going to have to run off real quick to take care of some business. So I'm going to be joined by the voice of the NBL, Jack Everin. Jack, welcome in at quarter time, my man.
Well, Liam, I just walked past. I'm here to do the second game tonight. I just walked past and you were sitting here on your own. Where's Felix?
Oh, he's done a runner. He has legitimately... As in
he's coming back, or he's not coming back, or what's he doing?
No, I think it's...
It's like an episode of The Bachelor. He's just made a run for it.
No, a quick pit stop is my expectation, unless I said something to really annoy him during that first quarter. But I'll keep my eye on that door D that he exited.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see him re-enter in the not-too-distant future.
Gee, I tell you what, I've just been sitting in the stands and watching. This point guard battle is fascinating so far.
Well, it's fun, but have a look right here. At the start of the second quarter, Crawford's not going to guard Jackson Cartwright because he picked up those 2 fouls. So as a result, Milton Doyle has slid into that spot.
So Felix von Hoff will be back in a moment. He's literally just vanished, which is about normal. But Liam, I think in fact, I know we are very privileged to have a very special guest with us. The #1 man at the New Zealand Breakers, their main franchise player, Will McDowell-White, joins us at commentary. Will, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
No worries. This is new, but I'm excited to get it going.
It's actually not that hard. Just sit here and talk. We've somehow managed to eke out an existence doing it. This is a very interesting game so far.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to, impose our will, our physicality, like we did a lot of last year. And, Tassie just bring it to us. They're outworking us on the boards. We just need to harden up and, play like grown men.
You're back. Felix is back.
I'll tell you what, you got to stay hydrated. You got to stay hydrated at all times.
As he reaches back for the water. Felix, as you can see, we're joined by Will here in the second quarter. Will, what's going on with the hand, mate? What happened? Where are you at? What's the state of play?
So I broke it about 2.5 weeks ago, just in practice. Just going up to going to block Parker's shot actually, and
Did you block it?
No, because on the way up I clipped his arm, and somehow my hand got broken, and he's out here playing.
I'll tell you what, you got to change that story and say you dunked it.
Majuk Dang gets all over the rim.
You say you dunked it hard enough that you broke your hand on the rim right on the top of Jackson Cartwright's head.
Well, I mean,
you should have said, did you see what happened to Towie Smith-Milne? Just picture that.
If I had more plays like that, I could do it, but it's been a couple of years since, so I can't play that card yet.
So how much longer are you looking at on the sidelines? Is Jock Dang. A strong finish. And a great pass by Milton Doyle as well.
Yeah, looking at about another 3 to 4 weeks. But I mean, if you ask Modi, I'm good by next week, apparently.
Well, it's funny you say that, Will, as Majuk Dang steps to the stripe. He's pretty money from that spot with the little shoulder shimmy, a la Kevin Durant, which I really enjoyed. I did ask Modi, and he was telling me you were killing in pre-season off the back of the Boomers camp prior to the hand injury.
Yeah, no, I felt, that's probably the best I've felt coming back from that camp, and I just wanted to, continue what I learned from there and bring it over to here and just incorporate it with this group.
Well, it must be fun, of course, to see how well Parker Jackson Cartwright's playing. To be able to play with a player who's, when you guys are both on the floor, that's a serious
serious backcourt you've got there, and when your teammate's just going to be dogging the other team's point guard, it must be a great feeling to be able to play with a guy like that.
Oh, it's a luxury. You know, that in some ways you look at it and you think, oh, you can take a break on defense, he's going to be hounding the whole time, but that's not how we do things. But, you know, me and Parker, you can kind of see we play the same way. We get everybody involved, but, I mean, he's a serious scorer, as we've seen so far.
There's a lot to unpack about what you did from what you just said. Firstly, about how you guys go about it on D. How would you summarize Mody Mayor's approach to the defensive end?
It's just all about intensity for us, intensity and physicality. We also want to be on the same page with our covers. You know, our covers are pretty direct, and if one person's off, the whole scheme's off. So,
right.
But no, the biggest thing for us is physicality and just imposing our will on these teams.
You spoke on the...
I'm just saying Jordan Crawford's going about imposing his will on this ball game. Hit the 3-ball the previous possession, and now he's on the attack.
He's got some move to him, that's for sure. Yeah, you spoke on the Boomers camp and going through that process. How was that? Because to be playing on, you know, and being involved in not only as, you know, a squad that's going for a medal, but arguably one of the greatest collection of players that the Australian basketball community's been able to put together for a long, long time. How much are you going to develop through that process? And of course, you know, Paris is a legitimate in your eyesight.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I got there, I was pretty overwhelmed. I've never been, you know, in that kind of group before, and I'd say probably the first couple of days I didn't really probably believe in myself that I deserved to be there. So I was probably, you know, I didn't really have a presence, or you know, I kind of stayed off the court as much as possible. But once I got out there and got comfortable, you know, I kind of felt like I belonged a little bit. And it was just, you know, day after day, I just gained a little bit of confidence every day, and you know, trying to bring it back to the Breakers here this year.
Now, it's been a fast start for the Jackies to begin this second quarter. Yep. Jordan Crawford's going to work.
Yep.
Just piled on a couple of quick buckets, and Mody Mayor has called for time. Take us into this New Zealand Breakers huddle right now. You know, have you ever seen bad lip reading?
Yeah.
Can you give us now the chair? There's a chair being moved around.
Yeah, that chair might be moved around a little more.
All right.
After this.
So cue Mody Mayor. 3, 2, 1.
Oh my God.
Remember, it's a family-friendly
I was going to say, I really can't say the things he's going to say right now.
Does he cut loose?
Yeah. Oh, he can really lose it and like make you not want to play basketball for the rest of your career.
But it's love, right? Like,
oh, yeah,
you
it's
guys
all,
play
yeah.
so hard for him.
You know, as long as you kind of listen to the message rather than the way he's saying it, you know, you move on pretty quickly. It takes a long time for that to happen for some guys, but you know, these guys are smart enough to know that it's coming from a place that he cares, and he just wants to win. And
he was a big reason you re-signed on the long-term deal, right? Now, for a coach that is that intense, can get, you know, deliver the messages so fervently, it's obviously comes from a point where you go, I know how much he cares and I know how much he helps my game. And
I also think I personally need a coach like that. People who know me as really, really chilled and laid back, just out there, you know, just having a good time. And so, yeah, I need someone to, you know, stick it up me every now and then.
Interestingly enough, you can see that in your game as well, and it's you know, to you, it's a positive thing because you're so poised, and you know, you never look rushed out there on the floor. Now, talk to me as the JackJumpers just managed to get away with one there, and they've taken control of this ball game as Lee throws it down on the break.
Well, Mody's getting super frustrated.
Are you happy that you're over this side of the court?
Oh, 100%. I might stay here for the rest of the game.
So Mango Matiang wasn't paying attention. The turnover result, and it's a quick hook. So Pinot's ready to check in and pull him out, and meanwhile, the JackJumpers are blazing away.
And you want to know, Will, why Liam's so happy that Jordan Crawford scored points? Because he said pre-game he was going to have a big one. So this is all in the self-interest of Liam Santa Maria right now. But talk me through, of course, the signing of you in the off-season was the biggest signing for the New Zealand Breakers by far, one of the biggest signings in the league when you talk about you know, a positive and net loss for a team. What was the process like re-signing? Because a lot of people thought, you know, God, he's going to chase the money in Europe. There's going to be an NBA deal beckoning. Such was the year that you had, and the years you had previous to that. You know, what was the thought process in signing back?
The biggest thing was I still want to be in this kind of development stage. Still, you know, kind of young and haven't obviously hit the full potential yet. So I just wanted to be around someone who was still kind of in that phase as well. And, you know, me and Modi had this kind of plan 3 years ago after that first year when I came back in. And, you know, when you build that trust over the last 2 or 3 years, it's pretty hard to kind of leave that. And, you know, he knows my game probably better than myself. So, yeah, it was pretty easy in the end.
Well, the JackJumpers just open 25-41 lead as Jordan Crawford's can't get that one to fall, but he is absolutely lining it up right now for the JackJumpers as Liafa just tries to claw back for the breakers. Can't get that one to go, but the hustle from the new recruit, Dane Pinot, rewards Cheatham in the break. Again, can't get that one to fall, but he's going to be rewarded with a foul.
Well, that's good D. And Fabian Krizlovic.
Where do you see your career going? Now, I know it's hard. You speak about not being an arrogant person. Maybe you can borrow some of mine because I've got it in spades. if you need some, I've got plenty spare. I brought an extra bucket of it. But your career, of course, the NBA, is that somewhere you want to head up? Do you want to be a long-running Breakers legend? Where does that sort of stuff, and I'm not going to try to throw you under the bus if you say, of course, the NBA is the ultimate dream, because I assume that's what it is.
Yeah, I think for everybody, you know, everybody in this court right now wants to play in the NBA one day. But for me, I've always, I just wanted to be at the highest level my talent can take me. Whether that's here, whether it's Europe, if it's potentially the NBA, great. I just want to fully maximize the career that I can have, and hopefully it's a long one.
Liafa, New Zealand still looking to just light a spark to get them rolling back into this ball game. A 14-point lead for the JackJumpers, which has opened up in this second quarter. Jackson Cartwright could be the man to do it. Gets straight through the chest of McDonald. Can't get that to fall. Pinot will fight and win.
Well, you talk about playing at the highest level you possibly can as the JackJumpers. They called for time? Scott Roth called for time, and now he's trying to cancel it.
Welcome to the preseason, baby.
So we're coming back out there on the floor. Now, talk about playing at the highest level that you possibly can. Last season, of course, spectacular season for you. The opening quarter of game 5 of the championship series in Sydney. It's all on the line, and you're just balling out. Just in your rhythm. The float game is on point as Cheatham picks up the unsportsmanlike foul in the backcourt. Have you gone back and watched any of that? Any of that series, but in particular, what no doubt was a really a traumatic way to kind of finish the season?
Yeah, I have, and you always go back to that 5-6 minute mark when we had that run, and yeah, things looked pretty positive, and we thought we definitely had one hand on the trophy already. And we just got really stagnant. We leaned on ISO ball, and, you know, Barry was big for us all year, and, you know, he won us so many games during that year that, you know, in the moment I think we were all fine with living and dying by that.
Right.
But then, yeah, you go back and it's just, man, if we just, you know, maybe if we were more organized, if we play better one-on-one defense, we could.
I'll say it, if you had the rock in your hands a little bit more.
No, I'm not going to say that.
I'll say it.
Said the quiet part out loud, Mr. Santamaria.
Barry deserved the ball in that point. He'd done so much in the fourth quarters over the year, so he deserved it.
I want to ask one that's, we'll just throw back a little bit here, but I remember, you know, in your really young junior days, of course, heading over to Germany, I believe it was, and we'd always heard, you know, Will McDowell White this, Will McDowell White that, and for a while there, it was sort of a myth. We didn't see you. You were playing overseas, and it was sort of not that long ago before the days of social media, but we weren't covering international players the way that we do now. What was that experience like in Germany in the early days?
Yeah, obviously really tough being really young and going to a foreign country with, you know, no family, no friends. You get pretty isolated out there. But once I got comfortable with the boys and
was Bros Baskets, was it?
Yeah, Bros in Bamberg there, and you know, the boys really welcomed me and, you know, really showed me the ropes of the city and how to be a pro. So after a couple months, I absolutely loved it. Hopefully, can get back over there.
Yeah, is that something sort of obviously during the off season? you have the chance when you've already got those relationships built up? Are you you know, go and try your luck at Summer League, or do you think that you'll start doing that, you know, a stint in Europe, or, you know, Mitch Creek goes to Puerto Rico? I'm always extremely jealous of these paid holidays that people are able to go on. Now, of course, Premier Skill awards you those things, but where do you think you'd like to sit in the off seasons?
Yeah, I'd like to keep playing. You know, these seasons here are relatively short compared to the ones over there, and I mean, who doesn't love to pick up an extra bit of coin along the way as well in a nice city, nice country? Yeah, it's something I'd like to do in the future.
Well, speaking of playing internationally, Will, as it all goes quiet for Clint Steindl at the free throw line. One of the spots you hit along the way was with the RGV Vipers in the G League, and at the time you were with Coach Mahmoud Abdel Fattah. Now, of course, he's in the NBL coaching the Sydney Kings. We saw him on the sidelines last night as Glidden lines one up. I'm always surprised it misses when Glidden's open like that. The upper can't hit.
And Dane Pinot wreaking havoc down there on the board. Even when he's not getting the rebound, he's a guy that's just going to fight and fight for it. And he pulls up a lot of those offensive rebounds to kick straight out. Gets your team a lot of possession. He would be infuriating in practice when you're working 4 stops and you're out.
Hey, we do 3 stops and out, and every time you're on 2, this guy just creeps in for a no board.
Fabian Krislovich with a strong finish there. Dane Pinot, well, I tell you what, he may be a close personal friend of mine, but he wanted no part of Fabian going to the
solid
rim.
business decision there from Dane Pinot. So what are your memories of Coach Abdel Fattah during your time in the G League?
Oh, he's just a bundle of energy. Always positive. I've never really seen him angry before. Like even though we were losing a lot.
I've described people as a bundle of energy before, and it usually isn't too much of a positive thing. It's just to avoid a certain term.
He's one of the greats. I mean, I was injured for a lot of my time there, and you know, he really helped develop some deficiencies that I had at the time. So you know, it's all love for him.
Well, you seem like every time you speak about one of your coaches, you seem to be a very coachable player, because you're talking about the impact they've had, the deficiencies. So, you know, I'm excited to see this relationship with Modi develop, especially this year when you're back out on court. It's exciting to see, because if you have that relationship with the point guard, there's almost, it's the one thing you would want on a team, is that sort of second coach out there on the court.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, point guard's always an extension of the coach, and me and Modi like to think in similar ways. So
might end up with a few tech fouls.
Yeah, a few ejections and suspensions probably.
As Junior Badut looks to get himself on the scoreboard, takes it in hard. Can't finish, but he'll get the foul.
Whoa, hold on. A little bit going on. Under the bucket. Call ahead.
Tell you what, Anthony Dremming's got a streak in him.
No, he's always involved.
He's always involved in these.
Don't worry about that. But while we're on the topic of deficiencies, it's been a horrendous second quarter here for the Breakers, Will. It was a 2-point game at quarter time. You came and sat in the hot seat here, and it just has all gone pear-shaped for your squad. The JackJumpers have churned it up, and it's been 22-4 so far since quarter time. What's going on out there?
I should probably get back over there and talk some sense into the boys, but
I think throwing on a jersey might help.
Yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks.
Well, it is tough for a team, because you are a point guard that really controls the game. You control the flow of the game, especially we saw it at points during the grand final series where you really came into your own and you were controlling the flow of the game. And you know, if you look at what the reason for some of those wins was, it was your ability to maintain control. Not having that on the floor, you can see it. You can see the struggle to get through the offense. I think it's going to benefit, especially a guy like Jackson Cartwright, who's going to be able to just focus on, hey, I've just got a D up and I've got to score when you're back out there on the floor.
Yeah, obviously a lot of guys are doing a little bit more, but you know, obviously Zay and Finn have only just come back, and they're probably feeling a little bit in the lungs at the moment.
The fight for the rebound is going to end up with the Breakers ball. As Liam said, it's been a horror second quarter, not only on the offensive end, but not exactly on the defensive end. They've maintained around about that. What remains to be seen with 3 minutes left, but offensively, one of the worst ones you're going to see.
Well, they're having all kinds of trouble scoring, and the JackJumpers can do that to you sometimes. No respect whatsoever at all there for Zylan Cheatham. He makes them pay from long range, but that's clearly the scout. What have you seen from him with his stroke at practice, Will?
No, Z's been actually pretty good from 3. Some days he's a guy you actually run off the line, which is scary because of how athletic he is. He can get on the rim. Yeah, maybe just, you know, second game of the Blitz, so, you know, he might just be a little hesitant at the moment.
Is there, I'll ask you, obviously you're not playing, but the fact that there are so many NBA scouts in attendance, is that at all spoken about within the group? Is it a bit of one of those, you know, elephants in the room, that there's a lot of guys, especially, you know, the imports and guys that are potentially on the radar to play in the NBA? Is it a nerve-wracking experience? Like putting you in the shoes of playing out here, if you were to be playing in this Blitz, how much would that weigh on your mind?
For me, not at all, really.
I'd be sweating, shivering, shaking, still in the locker room at halftime.
It's an awareness, though, right?
Yeah, like you obviously know they're there, but I think for our group and, you know, the way Modi coaches, everybody on that staff is coaching. It's hard to really even think about that when you're out there playing.
Yeah, look at this. They got the five-man, Cheatham handling it with giving him a whole bunch of space, and they're saying, you know what, let's put Marcus Lee on an island. Let's show what kind of a mismatch Cheatham can be here at the 5 spot.
Yeah, I mean, he is. He's strong enough to guard the 5. He can. We obviously saw his highlight the other day. He's athletic enough to stay in front, and he's going to be a mismatch for this season, a lot like Jarrell was last year for us as well.
The respect shown to the free throw shooters in this arena is a beautiful thing.
Tell you what, you feel rude talking, and you certainly wouldn't want to be saying something negative about a player while they're at the line in this venue. Finally, some points on the board for the Breakers, much needed towards the end of this quarter. Can't get that one to fall. But again, an off-the-ball foul, and they're paying attention to the rebounding here. It's going to be whistled on the Breakers, Finn Delaney. We're going to go down the other end for some more free throws.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's going to be foul number 18 for the Breakers in this half. So no one really in heavy foul trouble. Delaney just picks up his third. It hasn't taken long for Max Darling to pick up 3, but a bunch of guys on 2 fouls. And it's an interesting discussion point, Will, because I mentioned in the pregame with Felix, you guys were one of the league leaders in foul rate last year. Yep. You talked about the physicality being a real important point for what you guys want to be defensively. What are the adjustments you guys need to make this season to keep teams off the foul line more often?
Yeah, I think last year we probably just got a little bit overzealous with it. We just got to be excited, high energy. We just want to get stuck into guys and create some easy buckets. It's just about, you know, smart pressure. You don't have to be knees to knees all the time, trying to steal the ball. Just containing and being in front. You know, we've got too many good players to let these guys keep fouling out and you know, putting us in short rotations.
Is it sometimes hard, because we made mention at the start of this game, we saw it against the 36ers really on display, pushing teams out of their offense and back towards the halfway line, and with really, really active hands. Now, it's sort of the Louisville theory, where you do that every time. The ref can't call a foul every single time when you're pressuring that hard, and eventually you can get away with a lot. But is that something that Modi really stresses, pushing guys out of those comfortable positions? Yeah,
we really want teams like you know, playing with their back to the basket, having to protect the ball every time they catch it, not being able to make easy passes, easy reads. We're really strong on defending entries. We want to push them out, and it's really about messing up timing and spacing, and you know, get to 10 seconds on the clock and they haven't ran an action yet. Getting into one-on-ball offenses.
But the trick is striking that balance, isn't it? Because the JackJumpers have shot 24 free throws here in this first half. So if you can achieve that without fouling, well, now you're defending at a really high level. And despite the foul trouble, you guys were an outstanding defensive team last year. Now, if you think if we can manage to strike that balance more often, man, we're going to become a real lockdown type of squad. And to be honest, that is the kind of the balance that the JackJumpers under Scott Roth have struck over these first couple of seasons for them.
No, they're just disciplined in their schemes. They know what they want to do and they stick to it. You know, we're just probably, like I said, just getting a bit excited, trying to get some highlight reels on the other end.
Well, you've got some players that can certainly provide them. What's been, now, obviously Zylan Cheatham's incredibly athletic. We've only seen him for a moment here, and he's He's put one person on a poster. He's caught one near the top of the shot clock. In practice, has he just baptized someone that they've never been able to get over it at some point? Because I know guys like this, when you get him in some of those drills, it is a danger.
Nah, everyone's stepped out of the way. Every single time. If you see Z on a full head of steam, it's, Modi's actually, that's the one time Modi's okay with you getting out of the way.
You want to keep the confidence up.
What about before you broke the hand, Will, the pick and roll connection that you and Cheatham were starting to establish?
Yeah, no, oh man, probably the week leading into my injury, there was a lot of lobs thrown, and it's easy when you can just throw it anywhere in the gym and he can just go and get it. But he's just a good screener. He knows how to get out quick. He can slip screens. He's one of the luxuries to have.
Well, you had an elite screen. Here we see it again. The ball handling from Cheatham, putting Marcus Lee on an islet. The turnover results. You had an elite screener last year.
Yeah.
And Derek Pardon, I loved how quick he was into the screen, how quick he was out, his ability to work the angles, flip the screen. Of course, we know what he was like as a defender of pick and roll actions. How is Cheatham better, different in setting those picks and rolling to the rim?
I think with DP, he really used to hold on the screens, which every now and then led to us having to kind of wait sometimes in the pocket and have to play around with it. Whereas Z is just, it's more of just he's really just setting go screens really out here.
Right.
Just tapping and going. But I think, the biggest difference was the way DP would sprint into screens. So a lot of the on-ball defenders were already caught off guard, so we were pretty dangerous with that.
Well, they've just sort of steadied the ship here in these last couple of minutes. Your squad, Will, just starting to get a little more honest at the defensive end, slowed the flow down for the JackJumpers, and then this will help here from the upper and one opportunity, and an opportunity here to make sure they're going in a half-time somewhere less than 20 down, because it was starting to get out of hand there for a minute.
Junior Madut doing a good job of just providing a little bit of X factor. And he's a guy that if he wants to work into this rotation for Southeast, similarly to what he was doing, working into the rotation at Southeast Melbourne, he's just providing a good little X factor. Lee gets the drop pass. Looking for Madut, just a little too tricky with it.
Now I've got to ask you this, Will, before we finish up and get to half-time. Your old man, of course, a triple premiership winner for the Brisbane Lions. Are you a Lions supporter? They're obviously playing in a preliminary final not too far away on Saturday.
Yeah, Lions born and bred. Predicting a premiership this year. It's pretty funny. Our strength coach is actually a Collingwood supporter, which hurts for her to have to deal with seeing me every day. So I'm hoping for a Collingwood Brisbane and a repeat of the 02 and 03 grand finals.
Okay, all right. Now, are you going to be at the? Do you have the opportunity to be at the game on Saturday?
Be careful, because he's looking for tickets.
Okay.
If you want, I can text the old man and see if he can use his passes.
He's at the game, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, he'll find a way to be there.
Will that group that he won those premierships with, will they sit together? Do they catch up?
They do. I think they do like every couple times a year. They all get together, or even just a little group of them. They go golfing or just go and have some drinks, things like that. So,
how much does he embrace the basketball? Obviously, football background. Yeah. Is he extremely knowledgeable about it? Is he just a sort of casual observer, just supporting your stuff? Or has he really got around it?
We'll have to watch what I say about with the knowledge of basketball. So so I'm alive tomorrow. But no, he actually loves basketball more than footy.
Yeah.
He's coached all of us growing up. He watches every game. He's won multiple state championships at the junior level with all of us. So I guess he knows a little bit about juniors basketball, but we'll have to see what he knows about the pro level.
Nice. Well, you've certainly done a fantastic job raising you, and we can't wait till you get back out there on the court and really start to lead this Breakers lineup, because from what we've seen right now, they can definitely use this. Thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
On your will.
All good.
Fantastic young man, and I'll tell you what, he's going to be a superstar this year in the NBL for the New Zealand Breakers, who are going to look to get their way back to the championship game. And I'll tell you what, right now from what we've seen, we may have a little bit of work to do, but again, it's pre-season. We can just never read into this too much, Liam.
Yeah, it was a tough quarter. Man, I mean, it was a 2-point game. Now, we can talk about the struggles that the Breakers had all day long if we want. We got to give credit to the JackJumpers. This is what they do. They strangle the life out of you. They will continue to execute and push you at the defensive end. They'll continue to run their stuff and get things done offensively. And in that quarter, it well and truly got on top. 29-12. They only let the Breakers score 4 points for the opening 7 minutes of that entire quarter. So Scott Roth will be thrilled because the defense, to be honest, wasn't really there for a lot of their game against Southeast Melbourne. It was in the fourth, but for 3 quarters it wasn't. But today in that second quarter, man, they put the clamps on the Breakers.
And we'll check some highlights of that first half in a moment. But you look at the just lead. The spread of scoring for the JackJumpers is exactly what you want to see when you're not an offensively dominant team. When you're a defensive-minded team, you look at that. Junior Madoot with 5 points, Crawford 8, Drimmick 9, Deng 8. Moving down to Lee 7, Doyle 6. It's exactly what you want to be seeing.
Yeah, and you know they've shot 53% from the field overall, only really 4 of 12 from long range. But they got to the free throw line in a big way. Now, you won't see a lot of that here because, you know, that's not super exciting stuff, ticking the scoreboard over from the stripe. But 18 from 24. 24 free throws shot from the JackJumpers in that opening half. So they were on the attack, they were drawing fouls, and they were ticking the scoreboard over.
And they were doing exactly what you have to do to punish this New Zealand defense, which is if they want to get up and push you right out of your stuff. Now, it can go 2 ways, just cutting that off and driving to the rim early.
Right.
But they drove hard, they drove with intensity, and they drove straight through the defense. They didn't drive in for pull-ups. They went straight to the rim, and as you said, they were rewarded with the free throws that you can't see here, but that's how they got the majority of their points.
Yeah, well, that's right. If they're going to get up and they're going to pressure you, now you've got to be strong with the ball. You've got to land your screens and continue to execute. And if you can, well, there's buckets to be found at the back end, either from the free throw line or at the rim, and they were able to do a very good job of that, the JackJumpers. Now, there's a lot of Breakers highlights in the beginning of this package. Maybe that's from the first quarter, because from there on out, it was a lot of this. It was a lot of the JackJumpers getting what they wanted at the offensive end, moving the ball, everybody getting involved, and everybody having a bit to eat.
Of course, the lead scorers for the Breakers right now, Leafa with 8 points. We spoke about him being able to get his own shot and be an X-factor for this team. Cheatham, again, we didn't see only just the one athletic sort of prowess performance, but again, he's got 8 for the New Zealand Breakers. Struggling on the offensive end and struggling on the defensive end. Of course, Modi Mayor will not be happy with the 35, and he won't be happy with the 54.
Yeah, and it was, also a lot of Jordan Crawford in that second quarter as well, just quietly.
Just the man who was predicted by Liam Santamaria. We've got a big second half coming up as the Breakers try to fight back into this one. We'll see you in a moment.
Our game is made for moments. We stop at nothing, on or off the court, here and abroad. Every fan, every game, every experience. From game-winning buzzer beaters to posterizing dunks. The immeasurable passion and fierce rivalries. Every legacy, every team, and the strive for greatness. No matter the moment, it all matters to us. Hungry Jacks NBL. Every moment matters.
Supercoach NBL is here! You've never seen fantasy basketball like this. Stop dribbling, start playing. Play the official fantasy NBL game at supercoach.com.au.
Don't miss a moment of NBL action. On the court, away from the court, exclusive access, player interviews, free agency moves, next stars, and much more. The NBL's YouTube channel is your one-stop shop for all things NBL 24. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to find out all the latest news as it happens. Search NBL on YouTube to get watching.
Welcome back to the Gold Coast Exhibition and Convention Centre. Convention and Exhibition Centre, whichever side of the brown snake you live on. But, of course, the JackJumpers in that second quarter opened up a massive lead on the Breakers. The Breakers pride themselves on intense pressure, pushing teams out of their offense, and boy, did the JackJumpers make them pay. We just chatted to Will McDowell-White, who gave us a great look into both his career moving forward and how Mody Mayor just might use certain ways to motivate his team. He's quite an aggressive coach from the outset, but I'll tell you what, he's one of those guys that, I've played under coaches that are very stern before, but they manage to get the best out of their players. But sometimes you're gonna butt heads, but the best coaches seem to always be like that.
He's an outstanding coach, Mody Mayor. Now, everybody has their different style, right? You have some coaches who, over the journey, we've seen plenty of them in the NBL, who are a little bit more reserved. There's a sort of a Phil Smythe, Lindsay Gaze level of reserved, and then there's other different levels along the spectrum. But what you need to be as a head coach is true to your personality. And Mody Mayor is a passionate guy. We saw that as when he was an assistant. He's got a slightly different temperament as a head coach, but he's true to his personality. He's a guy who really, really cares about his players. He's a very, very smart basketball mind, and he's a passionate competitor. And he's a little animated sometimes on the sidelines. There's no doubt he would have delivered some stern messages at halftime, despite the fact that this is just pre-season, quote unquote, because he would not have been happy at all with the way in which his team went about it, primarily at the offensive end, to be honest, in that second quarter.
Well, you can see right now, just remonstrating with his team for a little bit of energy. But you spoke about when he was an assistant coach, of course, came out here with Dan Shamir, and then has now moved himself up to the head coach. So a bit of a roundabout way of getting a head coaching job in the NBL.
Well, for sure. I mean, Dan Shamir obviously coached with Mody for a long time. They had a good partnership. And then as Matt Walsh got to know Mody as an assistant coach, he saw a head coach in the making. They quickly elevated him to the position of associate head coach to make it very clear, hey, look, this is our guy. He's the next man in waiting. And then, of course, what a spectacular first season at the helm he had last year. So guys want to come and play for him. And, despite the fact that they're losing by a bunch here, I think this Breakers team's going to have a really good season. Now, if you're watching from the Apple Isle, you're thinking, fellas, we're up by 19. We're continuing to get it done, our Jackies, and you still won't give us any love. So we've got to take a moment here before we tip off the opening, the start of the third quarter, to recognise what a spectacular display that was from Scott Ross' crew in that second quarter.
I think we're just glass half full guys, aren't we? Where's the negative? Let's zone in on it. But you're dead right there. The JackJumpers were fantastic, and they were really strong in their opening game as well. If you're a JackJumpers fan and you've watched these two preseason games, we talk about winning and losing, it not mattering, but it's the manner in which you play that matters. And right now, the JackJumpers looking like they're picking up from where they left off with an added bit of offensive punch.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see whether they can maintain their level of defense that they've had over their first two seasons with some of those changes. Because, we spoke earlier, some of those guys that they lost were key pillars of that defensive identity that they built. Sam McDaniel and Matt Kenyon in particular. But I think you talk about Josh Majette, wasn't particularly known as a defensive guy through his time in the G League, but he understood the system that Scott Roth wanted to employ. And, you've got a bit of a different lineup out here now. You've got a guy like Jordan Crawford, who's not been necessarily renowned for his work at that end of the floor, and he's a little undersized in a league like this, Anthony Drimmick and the like. But so far so good. I mean, they defended really well down the stretch against Southeast Melbourne the other day, and they, kept the Phoenix to only 15 in that fourth term, and they just completely put the clamps on the Breakers in that second quarter.
Well, they made it to the championship series in their inaugural year with Josh Adams, and you think Jordan Crawford, if he can produce a similar scoring output, they're going to be looking at some success there as we...
Maybe some of that as well.
We got there eventually as Drimmick gets into the paint, gets that one tipped off by Jessup. And the Breakers are out the other way, looking to claw back into this 19-point lead of the JackJumpers. Jessup finds Mathiang. Mathiang with a mismatch on Jack McVeigh down low. He's not going to give up too easily. But sometimes you just can't overpower sheer size.
A good finish from Mathiang. Now, what can they get done defensively? Forced a turnover. Big energy here from the Breakers bench. and their group out on the floor in these first couple of possessions.
And this is the sort of stuff in the preseason. Of course, we spoke about how we need to reward the JackJumpers for playing so well. But if you're Modi, right now is a great challenge. You'd rather be facing this challenge in the preseason than you would be in the first couple of weeks of the season. This fight-back style of basketball is Mathiang. Again, providing on the offensive end, is currently leading the way in this fight-back.
Well, the reality is you got to experience as many different things in the preseason as you can, because you're going to face all kinds of different situations over the course of the season. The JackJumpers now, well, they've got a challenge. You know, we know how well they play when things are tight and tough, and it's a closely contested game. Usually, they will out-execute you in those situations. How do you go when you're 20 points up? You know, and things are going kind of rosy at halftime. Can you maintain that lead or even extend it? And for the Breakers, well, they're going to get down at times over the course of the season, and they get to go through that process right here, right now.
Well, it's interesting how you say that, because there are teams that are notorious for blowing leads, and you get them. The stats prove it. Sometimes it is hard to play your usual style of basketball. When you're up, you look to play this conservative style as Crawford gets it. One more to Jack McVeigh. He gets that one to drop. Just steadies the ship a little bit there for the JackJumpers.
Nice extra pass from Jordan Crawford. It's the unselfishness we spoke about. We spoke about his averages. I said somewhere around that 13, 14, 15 points per game. Lock in about 4 or 5 assists tonight as well.
Well, he's remarkably unselfish. Sometimes when you get guys and you see they led the scoring in another country, sometimes that can be a heavy shot production sort of guy. But right now, it's a fantastic fadeaway there from Jackson Cartwright, proving he's more than capable on both ends of the floor. But Jordan Crawford is a guy. He's not going to be selfish. He's not going to play outside of himself. He shoots at a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, well, in the Turkish league, when he did lead that competition in scoring, as Doyle attacks the paint, good wall up from the Breakers, averaged 20 points a game as Lee wins it back for the Jackies. And Tassie get an opportunity to operate in the half court. Foul called on Abercrombie. Averaged 20 points a game to lead the league in scoring. Yes, averaged 6 assists a game in that league as well.
Yeah.
So just was really getting it done at a very, very high level. As you said earlier, it is a quality competition. So he's going to be very good this season. And I'm really impressed with the level of imports that have been signed right across the comp.
Well, it's fantastic. And the interesting thing is we focus on these next stars, and that's the sort of where, especially in the preseason, our mind has been in terms of internationals that are coming into the league. But as you mentioned, some major highlights so far have been the imports. And you even look at an injury replacement player such as Cook for Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, who's just been an absolute highlight reel. Cheltham has done the same thing, as we just see Crawford just getting a little too eager to get the ball back off his mate there.
No, really high-level guys. You look at a guy like Gary Clark in Illawarra, Justin Robinson back this year when he gets healthy and gets...
Jalen Adams, league MVP, coming back for the Kings. DJ Hogue. That team is already looking good on the floor. Wait till you add 2 offensive juggernauts into that lineup.
No, you bang on.
Jackson Cartwright, Mathiang again. He's been successful in this first half. Gets whistled for the travel there.
That's great D. Really good D from Jack McVeigh at the defensive end, executing the schemes that Scott Roth has put in place early with the help. As soon as Mathiang turned around, bang, he ran into the brick wall that was Jack McVeigh.
Crawford downhill. Just manages to bait that. That's a veteran savvy move to be able to draw that foul from Crawford, and nothing but respect from Jackson Cartwright, I can imagine, because he's doing the exact same thing down the other end given the opportunity.
Yeah, fun watching these two guys go at it. And so much of it is trying to draw the foul. Now, either one of them gets another foul drawn on the other, well, that guy's going to go to the bench because they're both on 3 right now. So can they... Watching them go head-to-head is very enjoyable right now.
I'm going to pose a question to you. It may have been asked before throughout this this preseason tournament. Fouling out in the preseason. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
You want them to do a little bit what they do in the summer league?
Yeah, extend it. I would say maybe extend it to 9, which I believe in the summer league, in the NBA summer league, only 1 player may have ever fouled out. I could be corrected on that, and I'm sure Twitter will be quick to it if I'm wrong.
An Australian?
Was it an Australian?
Yes, sir.
Joe Ingles?
No. No.
Who was it?
Thon Maker.
Thon Maker. Well, there you go. I would like to see a little bit of that as Jackson Cartwright gets it in, kicks out to the veteran. You just can't get that one. Not lucky there. Tom Abercrombie is going to play his 400th game in round 1 against the Cairns Taipans, who themselves have an aggregate, I think, a combined games of maybe 156, I believe, is around the number, which is amazing. You consider the youth of that team, and Tom Abercrombie has just been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, he still looks like he can give us another couple of years. He's a player that's based his game on, you know, athleticism and that pull-up jump shot. He's still getting to it as Malcolm Lee gets up and just can't get that one to go. Good tip away from Shelton.
Yeah, no, he keeps himself in immaculate shape, Tom Abercrombie. Great leader amongst the group, the all-time leader in points scored and games played for the New Zealand Breakers. And, yeah, that's going to be a celebration. Game 1. Oh, my!
McVeigh takes it hard into the paint. That one's going to be blocked. They're going to get the foul and a gasp, and the New Zealand Breakers holding their breath for a moment as Sheatham just went hard into the ground.
McVeigh comes up smiling. As he turned the corner, he saw the seas close in on either side.
I think Jack McVeigh came up smiling because he left with his life.
He knew he was in trouble there in one way or the other. He had Matiang on one side and Cheatham on the other, and he said, I just got to go strong.
I'll tell you what, credit to Jack McVeigh for going down this Tony Robbins lifestyle choice, because that is a Tony Robbins style decision-making right there. Let nothing persuade you against that. But he's that type of guy. And you know what? Jack McVeigh has such a confidence in himself and his own ability. It's not an arrogance, it's a confidence, which I think can sometimes be, you know, confused. That he'll go up there and he thinks, you know what, I don't care who's there. I'm going to dunk that ball. I don't think it would have gone through his head twice. Maybe I should just lay back on this one because the shot block is there.
Well, he's a smart guy too.
He's a very intelligent guy.
Yeah, so when he attacks, he knows you got to attack strong. And look, geez, look at that. As part of his free throw routine, he smiles before he shoots it.
And I encourage you to just, you know, scroll down his Twitter feed if you do get the chance there for those watching at home, that he's very big on gratefulness. And, you know, he tweets every day about what he's grateful for.
He's grateful for free throws,
He's grateful for free throws. We might see that posted tonight. I'm grateful for Liam Santa Maria. Maybe that's, he's done ones like that to teammates before, so it wouldn't shock me.
I'd like to see that tweet.
I might have to debate it. It's a great pass by Mathiang to Jessup, who's running the baseline. Milton Doyle just with the 6 points at the moment for the JackJumpers. All NBL first team last year. And you look at the flexibility there. Great defense from Sheatham to be able to guard Doyle on the perimeter.
Well, he's got that matchup right now. That wasn't a switch. He's put his hand up and said, I want to guard Milton Doyle.
Jackson Cartwright straight through the middle of the paint. Can't get that to finish, but Mathiang almost baptizes Fabian Krislovich. Whistler for the foul, and Fabian arguing against the foul call. I'd be lucky to have escaped that one right there without a poster highlight.
Oh, man. Perfect timing. It bounced off the rim nicely and just wasn't quite able to get it up and down.
And it's interesting that you don't really see in today's game two non-shooters, and I'll say that Zylan Cheatham, I'll say non-shooters, probably discrediting him a little bit. He can shoot the ball from outside, but not at a rate that you would expect from a lot of the sort of pick and pop 5 men that we see in this league. But being able to play Mathiang and Cheatham on the floor at the same time, a little bit unusual, two non-shooting bigs, and they're quite happy to roll throughout the game with it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them sit off Zylan Cheatham. I thought the stroke looked pretty good, and Modi Mayor chatting with him, he actually is really excited about the moments where he's going to be able to play Cheatham even further down the lineup than the 4 spot.
Yeah.
He really wants, as I said earlier, to find some spots to be able to play him at the 3. You see him here defensively on Milton Doyle. I like that matchup. And Doyle's at the 2, so he's guarding right across the lineup.
He's a supreme athlete.
Yeah, and he's a locked-in guy who wants to contribute at both ends of the floor. So
Successful, so we're starting with a jump ball.
Challenge there. There was a challenge from the JackJumpers, and that's going to be successful.
Oh, wow. Okay.
If I was Fabian, I wouldn't want to be looking at that replay too much, let alone sending it up to the big screen.
So
but it's a successful challenge for the JackJumpers, and that's then going to turn into a jump ball.
Okay, so you talk about the fouls in the preseason. We got. I'm happy to keep it as it is with the fouls. We're so close to the start of the regular season. I haven't seen many challenges in the Blitz over the years.
It's interesting, and obviously the challenge is here for the officials mostly to be able to get through that challenge process and maybe the players and stuff to understand. And of course, when the ball's in being contested, it turns into a jump ball.
There you go.
Keith, they're pretty happy with his edits there. Jessup in the corner. Just gets a little too fancy with it, the travel. Clint Steindl, a guy that doesn't necessarily put up, you know, an awful amount of shots for the caliber of shooter that he is, but integral to this team.
Yeah, he's been obviously plagued by injuries last season and early in this preseason. As the Breakers come up with another stop, they're working their way back into this thing right here.
Jackson Cartwright with the and one in transition, and the Breakers are well and truly back into this ball game. And they're doing it on the defensive end.
Well, they've still got a little bit of work to do. You're right, they're getting some stops, and as a result, they're out and running. And the push of the ball here from Jackson Cartwright was nice. That's the 4th personal on Jordan Crawford now.
You look at the break.
Was it on him? Was it on McVeigh? The screen still says 3 on Crawford. But they've still got some work to do. Still a 13-point margin. We spoke about the JackJumpers. How do they go? Holding a lead or extending a lead? Well, right now they're starting to lose this one.
And the Breakers just turning defense into offenses is when they're at their best. You talk about teams that get, you know, they play better on the defensive end when they're having a good shooting night. The Breakers, along with most teams, are one of those teams that the better they're playing on defense, the more they're going to be able to push. They get these high-up steals, pressure on the defense.
Man, both these teams are like that, for sure. Both these coaches have that type of mentality. You know, we're going to make shots, we're going to miss shots, we're going to make good passes, we're going to turn it over sometimes, but let's make sure we are locked in defensively, possession after possession. And that's just a tough finish. Good contest at the rim. Teardrop from Jack McVeigh.
No fear from Jack McVeigh going up against a much bigger and much longer Matt Yang. And a 19-point lead has been whittled a little bit. Jackson Cartwright fighting there on the offensive board. Can't get it to go. McVeigh will push it the other way. Krislovich with a mismatch. Gets it out to Crawford. McVeigh tries to finish off a good possession. Can't get that to go as Glidden. Cheatham always going to be tough going straight at the basket. Finds himself in the corner there from the outside.
Oh, wow.
McVeigh gets that one blocked. Fabian Krislovich, Cheatham coming back in transition. And Jessup just steadies the ship. Jackson Cartwright likes the matchup. Gets the mismatch with Krislovich, steps back. Can't get it to fall, and McVeigh will fight and lose the rebound battle.
Well, these two guys, these 2 point guards are very fun to watch. Man, the crossover from Jordan Crawford was pretty. Blocked at the rim in the end. The JackJumpers, with Cheatham coming in to put out the fire, but that's been a fun battle to watch throughout the evening. Crawford's going to check out. McDonald checks in as Liafa. Sneaky play along the baseline. Glidden, who's been passing the ball really well throughout the evening, finds him, and Liafa goes to the stripe.
Well, the interesting matchup with Crawford and Jackson Cartwright is both of their strengths, which is usually playing against the taller guard, being able to get up in their grill and get those steals like we saw the other night against the 36ers, is somewhat nullified when they play against each other. And you do just get to see a little bit of them just take a step back and, you know, put that ball handling on show.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Each trying to take advantage of bigger, sort of slightly slower guys, but it's 2 blurs going at each other right now.
Still waiting for that post-up play that you promised us at the beginning of the game.
Well, that's according to how they're listed. I think Jackson Cartwright gets a bit of a generous go with the listing.
He does. He plays well above his size, that's for sure. Junior Madut back into the game for the JackJumpers. Lee back to Madut. It's back to McVeigh's going to have another try from outside. That one's going to be good.
Well, never stop shooting. Jack McVeigh, and nor should he. Gets the reps up. We know he's a big shot taker and a big shot maker. And is a big part of what they do offensively. Pick, pop, throw him the rock, and let him get that thing off.
The Jack Jumpers back out to a 16-point lead. The game high is 19. The Breakers doing a good job of hanging around and managing to just keep the scoreboard close. Glidden from the outside. That'll go a long way to fighting back in. Glidden, as we said, anytime he gets above 25, he's 8-0 in his career. He's a little bit off that at the moment. Lee, no luck on the inside. Great D by Mathiang. Delaney, who we haven't seen too much of, with a great pass to Jackson Cartwright. And again, the Breakers just forcing the Jack Jumpers back outside the three-point line. The great defense by Glidden.
Jeez, he's playing well, Cam Glidden. The veteran, they're trying to get him open on the arc. Delaney, bang.
Great extra pass. The coaches are fired up. The Breakers are fired up. We've got ourselves a ball game, 57-65. A little under 3 minutes to go in the third term. And the Breakers, well, we spoke about a team in the Jack Jumpers. How can they hold a lead? Are they comfortable holding a lead? We're used to them playing neck-and-neck affairs, and Liam Santa Maria questioned, are they going to be comfortable holding a lead? And I'll tell you what, this quarter we'd have to give so far to the Breakers.
Well, absolutely you do. 22-11. They've doubled their score here in this third quarter so far. Great response from the Breakers to Modi Mayor and everything that he will have asked for at halftime. And at the same time, you know, a great opportunity for the Jack Jumpers to go through this process. You had a big lead as a result of how well you played in that second quarter, and now you've almost let it all slip away. They were up by 20 plus. Now it's just a timeout. All right, great. Now we're facing a little adversity. Remind us that, hey, listen, fellas, we're still up. We've still got control of this game as long as we can retake the momentum. So this is what the preseason is all about. Go through all of these experiences, work out who you're going to be in these types of situations.
Well, that's the thing. Other than us being able to spend a week on the beautiful sunny Gold Coast, the best thing about the preseason and the Blitz is that you can find a silver lining in anything. For example, the Jack Jumpers blow this lead and the Breakers walk away with it. You can break that down and think, what went wrong?
Yes, sure.
If they hold the lead, you can say, what did we do that worked? For the same thing for the Breakers, there's always a silver lining, because the win-loss column, it means nothing.
Now this is the lineup that I'm intrigued by for the Breakers this season. When they bring Delaney in, they brought Delaney in, but now Mathiang goes out, so it's Cheatham at the 5, Delaney at the 4. It's mobile, it's athletic, it's going to result in a lot of that.
It pays dividends immediately.
They're going to be able to get up, pressure the ball, versatile right across the lineup.
You'd imagine you'd switch 2-3-5.
Well,
2-3-5, you'd imagine you'd switch in this lineup.
They can do that, or they can just be really aggressive with their coverages and scramble and rotate out of that and put the faith in everybody to be able to execute those schemes. So you can do a variety of different things, but I'm intrigued by this kind of slightly smaller group where Cheatham and Abercrombie share the floor together.
Cheatham just struggling from the free throw line this evening, having no trouble underneath, but when you're fighting back into a ball game, these are the ones that you want to knock down. 7-point lead for the Jack Jumpers. It was as high as 21 shortly after the halftime break as Lee through the middle. A great pass from McDonald.
Beautiful little pocket pass from McDonald. We talk about him as a lob threat, but right there, McDonald thread the needle and set him up to finish above the rim.
Jackson Cartwright, a great pass, and the reverse slam from Cheatham.
Oh my, he's a highlight machine.
He is a human highlight reel as Lee looks to return the favour on the other end. And that is one of the best lobs you are going to see in just the Blitz, but maybe throughout the season, the reverse. And it's stuff like that, Liam, that when you get the confidence that you can throw a guy a pass like that and he's going to reverse slam it, that's where you get to see some really impressive finishes.
Oh, the athleticism for one, and the awareness. Know exactly where the rim is. He took the contact. He wanted the end one. He probably should have got it. But my goodness, what a highlight reel Cheatham's going to be this season.
And Junior Madut said, I'm sick of you being on all the highlights. Let me have a piece of the action too. And it is a 7-point game. A little under 2 minutes to go in the third term here. Madut catches on the outside. That's no good.
Oh, that's a bad foul. Bad foul, Majukdang.
Bad foul in the backcourt, and they're going to go and continue to eat into this lead. And we're up for a big final quarter here when it all looked done and dusted at one point for the JackJumpers. The New Zealand Breakers are alive and well ever since Will McDowell-White left our position here and moved back over there, and he's in the ears of his teammates.
That's the influence he has on the group over there, Will McDowell-White. But they've done a fabulous job this quarter defending without fouling. They've lifted the intensity. They've forced turnovers. As Cheatham again.
Well, you spoke about this being an exciting lineup, and you know, they've done exactly that. The last 2-3 defensive possessions have been fantastic.
Yeah, and the JackJumpers have only shot 2 free throws this quarter. Now both teams over the limit right now, but they've done a much better job, the Breakers, and as a result, it's now all of a sudden back to a 2-possession game.
Crawford just going to look to lift the offensive production a little bit for the JackJumpers. Lee. Good strong move down low, and he's going to head to the line.
Well, this is the type of situation where this particular Breakers lineup might find it a little difficult. When you do execute those aggressive coverages, but you have a big guy like Marcus Lee who you can make a bit of a focus of. So there, had the little size advantage over Finn Delaney, was able to work his way to the stripe.
And you look at every time a player comes off for the New Zealand Breakers, Mody Mayall's right in the ear. You look at how close he's getting right there with Jackson Cartwright, and you can always tell the respect a player has for a coach. They're not sitting there talking back. They come off immediately, and they stand and they listen exactly what Mody Mayall's got to say. And you know, actions speak a lot louder than words. You can tell just from seeing that the respect the players have.
Yeah, and there was no bigger moment to exemplify that than after they lost the championship in Game 5, and Jarrell Brantley interrupted Mody Mayall's press conference to just tell the world how good a coach he is and how much he loves it.
Cheatham down low, can't get that one to go. And of course, when we're talking about how good Mody is as a coach, we do want it to go without mention that Scott Roth as well is coaching a fantastic game for the most part himself. And I think it goes without saying that these are two of the premier coaches in the league that we're seeing right now, and we can see it in the style of game of both these teams.
Exactly. And Scott Roth has done a fabulous job with the JackJumpers. When he came in, he said, I want to build something that is long-lasting, is sustainable. We want to be a team that plays a certain way, has a certain culture, where we are a title contender year in, year out. As Majukdang knocks that one down, set up by Jordan Crawford. And that's what he's done. And he's done it just immediately. He did it in year 1. It floated to year 2. You can see the pillars are there for it to occur again here in year 3.
Liafa with the ball in hand up top. Looks to work, finds a matchup with Madut, takes it into the paint. Can't get that to fall. Madut will take it away. Shot clock's turned off. Crawford's going to dribble this one. A 10-point lead for the JackJumpers. Crawford will look to extend that with the final shot before halftime. Ghost screen through the paint. Gets a tip off to Lee, who throws it down. A big final possession and a much-needed final possession for the JackJumpers going into the third quarter break. And this is, you know, even though it hasn't been necessarily a hugely close game for the majority of this, it's been a fantastic ball game.
It really has. And what a fun way to finish that quarter. Jordan Crawford. You like point guard play? Get a load of that possession right there. Managed the clock beautifully. They brought Finn Delaney up to the screen. He split that coverage perfectly. Drew the help D, and then the timing on the drop-off. Look at this. Bang, splits the defense. It commits Zylan Cheatham to the ball. And then the timing on the cut from Marcus Lee, and he's wrapping his knuckles around the rim.
Well, Marcus Lee, for a guy that size, of course, a Kentucky product, fantastic hands. You know, sometimes you get big guys like that, you really got to hit them in a real, it's got to be like a baseball pitcher. You got to hit them right in the strike zone.
Harsh.
But a guy like Lee, you can get, I'm not saying all bigs, but just the ones I was playing with. You really got to hit him in a nice zone, but with him, he can really throw it up, he can throw it down. It makes it a lot easier on the guard.
Now, a really good signing, Marcus Lee. Of course, Will Magnay was supposed to be the foundation piece for them in the middle.
And he still may be as time goes on, but he's got to get healthy.
I mean, he's really having a hard time getting healthy, and then of course staying healthy. A really annoying little foot injury here to begin this season. But in the meantime, you know, they needed someone else to come in and play a big role at the 5 spot. Of course, Fabian Grizzlevich's done a terrific job filling in. He did that throughout that season that they went to the championship series. And Marcus Lee's going to come in and do a good job in that regard as well. As there's been going on here during
one of the greatest
break.
things in stadium entertainment is the lookalikes. And I'll tell you what, they've absolutely nailed that one. Oh, Ron Weasley.
Oh, no.
They've gone Ron Weasley and they've zoomed in on Sean McDonald there. They've just done our man a little bit dirty.
Bit hard.
It's all happening here at the Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre. It's been a fantastic week so far. We've still got plenty to go. Not only the NBL pre-season, but a throwdown in Melbourne to kick off the season. Scottie Pippen's going to be in attendance. Luke Longley, maybe. We hope he'll be there too, but it's going to be a massive NBL season. And make sure you download the app. You can follow everything. You watch the games via the app, of course, via KO. It's all happening in the NBL. Every moment matters. As we look to get this final term underway, a 12-point lead for the JackJumpers, but the New Zealand Breakers have been slowly fighting back throughout that third term. Jackson Cartwright settles for the jumper, gets that one to fall.
Well, he's got 16 now, Jackson Cartwright, the game-leading scorer. Throw 3 boards and 3 dimes in there as well. He's had a good one.
Crawford does the match-up on Abercrombie. Can't get that to fall. Delaney, first year back in the league, pulls it down for the Breakers, and when he's fit and going downhill, he's tough to stop. Mathiang, it's proved to be a tough combo. And Delaney, as we said, just driving hard into the paint. Majok Den, too strong that time. Madut takes it through. And the circus music plays as that bounces off 3 bodies and heads out of bounds.
You know, it's interesting to talk about Finn Delaney. Getting a bit of a look and trying to get a bit of a read on where he's at coming into the start of this season. He's actually really good in Europe last season. But he's back with the Breakers. We know Finn Diesel as being a guy with some great athletic pop. Well, he's bigger and stronger than he's ever been.
That's the thing.
Right
I think
now.
he's a bit of a different body type.
Yeah.
And you're right in saying he's a little bit stronger. Doesn't necessarily right now seem to have that same pop.
Yeah.
I would say.
And the NBA scouts in the building, it takes me back to the Blitz. It was in Brisbane in 2016, the year Terrence Ferguson came. So just 2 hours up the road from here, and it was loaded with NBA scouts, and that was Finn Delaney's coming out party as a DP, and he was just airborne most of the week. It's a very different guy at this point in his career, stronger, more skilled, higher basketball IQ, but can he find a way to get back to imposing his talents and his will on ball games like he did a couple of seasons ago when he was an all-NBL second team type of guy.
He was the Breakers' main guy that year. 10-point lead for the JackJumpers, a little under 9 minutes remaining in this game. Mathiang, he's been strong all night. And again, just a little handsy from Sean McDonald.
So that's their third team foul to begin this quarter. I was going to ask the question, who can defend at a high level without fouling in this fourth term? We've seen 50 free throws shot in this game so far.
Well, it is pre-season for all people, including the officials, who have definitely been able to work out that those whistles are working.
Yeah, but more so the players, man. It's a skill.
Yeah, there hasn't been a bad call. There hasn't been a noticeable bad call. It's been a lot of, heavy hands, high-pressure defense. It's been whistled, so it's certainly not at the fault of the referees, who have been fantastic all night.
All right, so the Breakers have jumped into a little bit of a zone.
Crawford gets deep into the paint, can't get that to fall under the pressure of Mathiang, and they're out the other way, the Breakers. Jackson Cartwright gets right into the paint. Can't get it to fall, but it'll land back in his hands. All the way back out to Glidden for the bunning sign. Keep the snag, because that doesn't go down. Crawford.
Oh, my.
Sean McDonald from the outside. If there was any player to go flying into the stands right now for the safety of everyone, it's probably lucky that it was Jackson Cartwright, because They pushed him right back out there.
He just looked over and checked with those that he ploughed into, made sure everybody was okay, got the nod of approval. Geez, we had a really good look from our position at that Cam Glidden free ball.
Looked good out of the hand.
It looked really good, fell a little short.
And the Breakers have just hung on, haven't really been able to push beyond this margin. Cartwright deep into the paint, back out to Glidden, a little closer this time, and that's too good.
He's looking good in pre-season, Cam Glidden.
He's looking good. Just the 8 points on the night so far, but he's been strong with the ball. A couple of good dimes. You mentioned 3 of them in quick succession.
He's got 5 assists, equal game leader.
Crawford deep into the paint, penetrates the zone. Manages to draw the foul. Mathiang remonstrates and not happy about it.
Yeah, and his stroke is looking really nice, Glidden. So he's got 11 points and 5 assists now. That's up, and that's on 3 of 5 shooting from long range.
Not an aberration, of course. Had a great game last time out, 19 points.
Yeah, in 13 minutes, 5 threes at 100%. So, and it's, you know, a lot of it's coming off the attack from Jackson Cartwright. He's getting his way into the paint.
Well, that's the benefit of having a guy that quick
Yeah.
and that size that can just slice up the paint. And not only can he just slice up the paint, but he's also a massive threat for that little floater, the little pull-up jump shot.
Yeah.
So he's not just a guy. Sometimes you can get guys that you can cradle in there and they're not a huge scoring threat.
Right.
So you can sort of focus on taking out the outlet pass. But he's a scoring threat every time he gets into the paint. But he's got great poise. And a 7-point lead for the JackJumpers. A little over 7 minutes remain. Jackson Cartwright. Delaney, a quick pass. The man we speak of, Cam Glidden, gets that one to Delaney. He's going to use his body against McVeigh. The strong move. And he's going to get whistled for the travel. And McVeigh copped that one right in the solar plex. And he's down on the floor, but looks just to be winded. So no concerns there for the JackJumpers fan. He's a tough kid. He'll be right back up.
Were they giving him compressions? That's what it looked like there.
Looked
for
like a touchdown celebration for a moment there.
He walks off with the double cobra.
Oh, you know what? They care about their teammates.
But that was the strength of Finn Delaney on display. Bang! He got him right in the middle.
He looked like he might have even got 2 shots on the way through, and he gets whistled for the travel. Yep, good call by the official there. They've been fantastic all night. And Jack McVeigh will be fine. He'll stay in the ball game here, just a little winded. Of course, our officials tonight, Mitch Hare, Nico Fernandez, and Alex McEwen. Good to see them down in the Gold Coast on the classic Europe Car Green, one of the better sponsorships you'll run across.
Well, they've looked after me this week.
Oh,
absolutely.
Nice.
Driving some of the guys around. And
so you've been courier to the next stars. Is it a cool thing as well? I was thinking this to myself the other day, where you know, just being able to build a relationship with these guys that will hopefully go on to be, you know, NBA stars down the track, and through the, you know, the entirety of this program, you're building a relationship with a lot of guys, you know, every year. And as this program continues to build, and you know, who knows, you remain in that position or you move on to other things or what you do, but it's just cool to develop a relationship and then watch these guys' careers flourish as they go on beyond this program.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bit I'm finding enjoyable in the process is playing a role in hopefully putting them each in a really good position to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, to grow. It's not all going to be smooth sailing. You're going to go through some adversity at times, and through the challenge of playing in a tough physical pro league like this, hopefully you can have the opportunity to achieve some growth. So the idea is to try to put them in those kind of positions to launch their pro careers, their NBA careers, hopefully for most of them. So I am enjoying that. But I tell you, I mean, I think everybody who's following the league gets the opportunity with all the young prospects,
it's
the next
fantastic.
stars,
yeah,
but also others around, Ben Henschel and Lockie Olbrich and Taron Armstrong and all the great young talent and prospects around the league, to watch them grow and flourish into being really high-level players over the jersey.
You speak about Ben Henschel there, and we do get distracted a little bit with the next stars, that we forget, you know,
the level of young talent in the league. Taron Armstrong, the way he controlled the game, his poise.
Oh, he's great.
And he's a guy, I love the story of Taron Armstrong for the Cairns Taipans. You know, he grew up with Josh Giddey and Dyson Daniels getting all the attention, and he says, you know what, now it's my turn. I'm in the league. These are the numbers you put up, Giddey. You know, I'm going to challenge those ones as well. Of course, Giddey was a lot younger when he was in the league, but Taron Armstrong, of course, only played the 2 years of college, still incredibly young, and just the poise that he showed. And we've got to remember, for a lot of these guys, what we've seen of them was their first professional outing. They've gone from playing, you know, Taron played at a high-level college.
Yeah.
But a lot of these, you know, these Next Stars players, they've gone from playing high school ball to now professional against men. So it's amazing when you see them come out and impress on their first outing, just how far they have to go.
Now we're going to see a couple of those guys in the second game today. Good attack from Jordan Crawford. Gets past the defense yet again, gets himself to the free throw line. We're going to see Alexander Sarr. We can see the Perth Wildcats off to the left in the corner of the court here watching the end of this game.
Geez, they can put a long defensive lineup on the floor. And it's amazing to say a defensive lineup when you've got Bryce Cotton at the head of that. Not as a knock to Bryce Cotton on the defensive end, but just when you've got a player of that offensive caliber with a team that can defend like that, it's going to be really impressive.
No, they're going to be fun to watch. Crawford steps up and knocks down his second. Extends the lead back out to 8 for the JackJumpers. And we're going to see Trenton Flowers this evening as well, who had a rough start to the Blitz and has had a rough couple of preseason games with guys getting into him in the backcourt. It's going to be fascinating to watch how he handles that adversity, how he bounces back. He's loaded with talent. He's got some real athletic pop. He's an NBA draft prospect, a 5-star guy for a reason, as Jessup knocks that down from long range.
Big time jump shot there, cuts the lead to 5, and we've got ourselves a ball game.
And it's going to be interesting to see the way CJ Bruton moves his pieces around a little bit in order to make sure everyone's in the best possible spot to succeed, to help that squad as Crawford continues to ball out. He's got 16 now with 5 boards and 5 assists.
He's been impressive, Jordan Crawford, throughout this game. Delaney. Glidden again been impressive himself. Liafa, no stranger to the outside shot. Can't get that to fall. And Mathiang will fight for the board. But Milton Doyle will come up with it. And it's interesting, Milton Doyle hasn't played a huge part in this game. Has seen, you know, limited minutes as Scott Roth looks to some of the newer commodities, such as Jordan Crawford, to just let them steady the ship and find their way in this team. There's Crawford out the other way. He's got some tall bodies in front of him. It hasn't scared him in the past as he shakes Jessup off. Scoop passes it out to the man we just spoke of, Doyle. The JackJumpers just doing a good job of moving the ball, and vice versa, the Breakers doing a good job of defending it as Jack McVeigh.
Man, that was a fun possession.
It's one of those, it was good offense and it's good defense in the same breath.
Man. Crawford and Doyle doing their thing off the bounce, and then Jack McVeigh wheeling and dealing and drilling the step back.
They've stepped up when asked. The JackJumpers, the Breakers have just continued to eat into this league, but haven't really been able to fight past 7 since that first quarter as Jessup manages to shake off Krislovic. Is going to be whistled, but they'll have to wipe some of that sweat off the floor. But I'm Jessup there, I'm pulling that shot. As soon as I see a player fall down like that, and even if it's an accidental ankle breaker, you're pulling that one for the highlight.
Did you need someone to fall down, or did you just pull it every time?
Well, there's a reason I'm sitting here talking to you, Liam, and it's because I pulled it.
Okay. Meanwhile, Modi Mayor has flipped it back to that agile lineup. Cheatham and Delaney at the 5 and the 4 here as we approach crunch time.
Jessup looks to go back-to-back, can't get it to fall. Cheatham can't get that one to drop.
Oh my.
Gets it back out to Glidden. He's had success from the outside, can't find it there, and you thought a Cheatham tip jam was beckoning there if he could have got a clean hand on it.
That's outrageous that they came away empty from that possession.
3 shots from the perimeter, 2 shots from the interior, and nothing for the Breakers on a much-needed possession.
And he should have just stayed with it. Marcus Lee was nowhere to be seen.
Doyle likes the matchup, and so does Cheatham as Glidden takes it the other way. Quick pass. No success, but Jessup's going to look from the outside, turns it down. Big time, mate. And again, just cutting this lead to 7 points, but they haven't really been able to fight through that 7-point barrier because Tasmania have answered every time.
Much needed bucket for the Breakers, and Modi Mayor tells the score bench, cancel that timeout.
Crawford back to McVeigh, looks to knock another one from the outside, can't get that to fall.
The foul trouble for Marcus Lee rears its ugly head yet again. He fouls out of the game. He fouled out the other night in just 13 minutes against Southeast Melbourne. So that's the ongoing adjustment for the big fella. And that one, he gets his hands caught in the cookie jar.
Well, he's certainly made his presence felt on the court with 13 points and a fantastic effort on the defensive end. For the JackJumpers, they're going to have to fight and hold this lead without him. A little under 4 minutes remain in the last term. Jessup at the line. 6-point lead to the JackJumpers. Make that 5. They've finally started to eat into that, get past that 7-point barrier. It's up to the JackJumpers now to respond. They've made a habit of doing just that as this game's gone on. Who's going to be the man for them down the stretch? Doyle. Crawford finds the mismatch. Yet another great dump off. Finds Krislovic. He's been doing it all for them, Crawford.
Beautiful pass. Just the attack off the bounce. Gets his shoulders past the defense and sets up Krislovic at the rim.
Quick pass to Finn Delaney. Finds it on the inside. McVeigh. Crawford's been the man so far for the JackJumpers. They're going to rely on him. Lake gets it out to Doyle, the known commodity. That one looked to have been tipped in the air. And the Breakers are going to need to start putting the points on. A 5-point game, under 3 minutes remain. Liafa finds Cheatham, turns it down, back out to Jessup. Can't get that to fall, and the opportunities have come for the Breakers, but they just have not been able to capitalise.
Good poise from Cheatham on the short roll. Didn't travel or barge into Sean McDonald, and he set up Jessup for a wide open look.
Krislovic is going to work on the smaller Liafa, gets it out to the even smaller Crawford. McVeigh fights for the board. He's going to draw the foul there. And the Breakers not happy about it, and maybe rightly so.
Yeah, Glidden can't believe it now. They've still got their challenge, I suspect.
Yep, and Modi's asking for it now, and Modi's going to go to the challenge. Well, maybe not. What was Andrew Gaze's record for the challenge?
As a
commentator guessing it. I believe he was something of almost 0 for 13 at one point throughout the season.
He talks himself down. He knows it. Isn't he on the FIBA rules committee, our man?
I've seen some. Do you remember that Spain game? The FIBA rules committee might not be too strong. Big free throws for the JackJumpers. 7-point lead, a little over 2 minutes. The Breakers have had their opportunities down the stretch, but just haven't been able to capitalise, one of which you pointed out was 4 shots in the one possession, 2 on the interior, 2 on the exterior, and just couldn't come up with a bucket.
They're the 2 possessions, I think, these last couple of minutes that might have changed things here for the Breakers. Zylan Cheatham right around the rim, just couldn't finish, and then he sort of gave up on the moment. Kicked it back out where the shot blocker, Marcus Lee, was out on the perimeter. Just needed to continue to try his luck around the hoop. And then the wide open look for Justinian Jessup was a 5-point game. It would have cut it to 2, and that comes off the rim. But this is what the JackJumpers do, man. Game after game after game, they execute down the stretch. They're the best crunch time executing team in the NBL. And that says a fair bit when they don't have Bryce Cotton on their squad. Because that's, they're so well drilled that as the game slows down in the 4th quarter, they don't have to do anything different to the way they've played all game long. Just continue to move the ball and execute their stuff. And that's why we saw it in their opening game of the Blitz. They outscored Southeast Melbourne 26-15 in the 4th. And why here, despite the Breakers continuing to ask some questions, they're just doing their thing, the Jackies, and they've been able to maintain this margin.
Well, the spread of scoring as well for the JackJumpers. Of course, Crawford 16, McVeigh 16, Dang 10, Drimmick 11, Marcus Lee with 13. And that's the way you want to be playing basketball. And you spoke about Jordan Crawford. What's he going to average in this league? 14 points for the JackJumpers is, 16, 17 potentially for another team. As Glidden from the outside, that'd be big, and it is just that.
Oh, he's cash.
81-85, 2 minutes remain. The JackJumpers have held on for a majority of this second half. It's going to take everything to hold on. Fast storming breakers down the stretch. Krislovic. Doyle gets the pass, but just can't find. Looked to have been blocked on the way through there, Krislovic, but the breakers.
He should have been a foul on Finn Delaney.
Sometimes the luck falls your way, and they've got it on that possession. And the Breakers will have another chance to eat in. And a foul there, and they're going to go to the line there. A coach killer from Fabian Krislovic, overzealous on the high post entry.
Well, Cheatham, as you mentioned earlier, Felix, it's been an interesting ride with him at the line over the course of the night. He shot 5 of 8, so nothing horrendous, but these are big ones right here.
These are the ones that matter. It's a one-shot ball game. Of course, the JackJumpers led by as high as 21 early in the third term, going into the half, a 19-point lead. All of which was built in the second term. And the crowd here at the Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre is getting up and about for a great finish here. 2-point JackJumpers lead. McDonald gets it to Krislovic down low, finds Doyle in the corner. Back down to Krislovic, and classic JackJumpers basketball. You mentioned do the same thing time and time again, and they find success, and they did it on that possession.
Yeah, they just continue to move bodies, they continue to move the ball, they don't care who finishes the play, and they execute.
Cheatham dribbles into traffic. Sean McDonald's going to be whistled to the foul, and once again, Cheatham will be tested at the free throw line. He passed the test last time around, and he's going to need to do it again. Cheatham 7 for 10 on the night. He's found his way to the line. Make that 7 for 11. Keep your Slurpee, because that's a tough one to miss. And no good for the New Zealand Breakers. The theme of letting down opportunities continues there at the line. And the JackJumpers in no rush at all to get through this possession. Crawford again manages to get the foul, and overzealous.
Yes, a bad foul.
Cheatham, unnecessary.
No, and and that again, we talk about what you go through in the preseason. They'll use that vision, and they'll say, "Hey, fellas, listen, we're down 4. We're inside the final minute here, but the time is still on our side. We don't need a foul here. Just be solid. Just be solid defensively in that type of moment, and they can take some learnings from it."
The JackJumpers, of course, going in to the halftime break on 54. It's been a relatively good defensive second half for the Breakers, so Modi will go in happy, win or loss with that. Crawford good from the stripe, and a timeout to the Breakers as they work out. They've had no issue finding the opportunities, Liam Santa Maria, but it's about putting the ball through the hole.
Yeah, had some good chances, some missed free throws, some missed open looks late, some things that didn't go right at the defensive end. But on the flip side, the JackJumpers, they've done enough. They've done enough here. Now, still a 2-possession game, 50 seconds to play. Great opportunity for these teams to start to have a look at, well, what do we execute in these big moments? So for the Breakers here, they don't want to eat a lot of clock. They want to come out here and get a reasonably quick bucket. So let's look at some of the plays that they've had ready and been getting ready for that type of situation. But can we turn our attention just quickly, Phil, while we're in this moment late in the ball game, on the performance of Jordan Crawford?
I knew you were going to go there because you talked it up at the start of the game.
Because our man was a little quiet in the first quarter.
And you were worried.
You started to talk our man down just a tiny little bit.
Not often are you wrong. You know, you called the JackJumpers just got to keep doing what they got to do, and they did just that, and they're in the position they're in. You said to Jordan Crawford.
You said, do you get concerned about a guy who was a high scorer in Turkey, but, you know, is struggling to find his feet? Our man's got 18 points, 5 boards, 6 assists, and it's been a masterclass from him all night long.
It has, and look, it looks like that could be an even higher figure right now. He's been incredibly unselfish with the ball, and there's been a couple of gimmies that have been missed down at the rim. You give him an A mark across the preseason so far. He's been fantastic, and you talk about so much of the success for these teams comes down to nailing your imports, and the JackJumpers look to have done that. Glidden from the outside. Can't get that one to fall. Doyle comes up with an important rebound. 36 seconds remain on the clock. A 6-point lead for the JackJumpers, and they are in no rush to get to the rim. McVeigh tries his luck from the outside. That falls. And with it does the chances of the New Zealand Breakers in this one.
Oh, tongue-out celebration from Jack McVeigh. He's having a good time out there.
Well, he's having a good time, and he's playing a great game. Talk about Jordan Crawford and Jack McVeigh, the highlights in this one. Of course, Marcus Lee fouling out late in the game, but the JackJumpers have found a way without him to continue that defensive pressure and do a great job and find great looks on the outside. But, you know, great confidence there from Jack McVeigh. It was a shot that he could have potentially turned down and continue to play, you know, work through their offense. There's still 8 seconds on the clock, but the right decision.
Is he the best pick and pop guy in the league? Jack McVeigh? Name one better.
Can I throw Glidden into an on-ball screen?
No.
Can I throw Bryce into an on-ball screen?
No.
He is. For someone that regularly goes to that, and he, of course,
Yeah.
engages in a lot of that ghost screen sort of stuff as well. So, yeah, I'll roll with you for now, Liam. You're not often wrong, but I am trying.
No, it's one of the, you look around the league and you think, well,
I think it throws you off guard because you don't see him as a picker, like you don't see him as a big. I still see him as a wing, as a shooting guard, but he's always in that on-ball situation.
You know, it's one of the fun things you see from time to time is a coach look at a guy and say, I'm going to unlock your potential by putting you where you need to be. And that's what Scott Roth did with Jack McVeigh. He said, no, you know, Jack McVeigh used to tweet #BigGuard.
Yeah.
And Scott Roth said, forget that.
I wondered where that went.
Yeah, he said, don't tweet. He said, forget that. Tweet like positivity and motivational stuff.
Yeah.
You're a power forward in this league.
Yeah.
You're a Jesse Wagstaff type. And now that pick and pop action has become deadly.
Certainly has, and it's part of the reason why the JackJumpers are going to walk away with their second victory of the preseason. All done bar the shouting here. 85-92, the JackJumpers will dribble this out. It's preseason. You probably take one final crack at it. Sure, Liam will be happy here with a Jordan Crawford bucket to just put some icing on the cake in the pre-game prediction and to just shoot me down. How dare I question the abilities of the great man. He's led this team from start to finish. A fantastic win from the JackJumpers, but it's pre-season. Winning and losing doesn't matter. Learning opportunities for the Breakers. They were certainly the better team in the second half. Missed some opportunities there that could have had them much closer in the finish here. For the JackJumpers, put on a clinic in that second quarter and show just that type of strangulation defense that they can provide. And I reckon that is going to be the term that is going to stick with them throughout this year.
You're right. They won that game in the second quarter when they outscored the Breakers 29-12. Completely dominated that second term, built that 20-point lead. Now it got a little hairy down the stretch, so it tightened up, and then with their late game execution, they were able to close that thing out. And you're right, Jordan Crawford was sensational. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Jack McVeigh was the game-leading scorer with 19. Marcus Lee had 13 in before fouling out, and Majuk Deng was terrific also off the bench with 10. So just a quintessential JackJumpers win where their defense got on top at one point in the game, and then they were able to close that thing out.
And the JackJumpers, of course, you know, one of the few teams here fielding a full-strength roster. Playing, you know, pretty much the entirety through their guys without Will Magnay, of course. And Will Magnay has been someone who's, you know, sporadically been able to spend time in this list, but it's invaluable as we go to the highlights here to be able to play with your full list throughout this preseason, and we hope that that continues throughout the years. Mathayang was fantastic, of course, for the New Zealand Breakers, who put in a great effort in the second half, and we talk about the learnings. they're going to be able to look at that and say, okay, what did we do in the first half versus what did we do in the second half, and what went wrong in that second quarter.
Yeah. Well, Parker Jackson Cartwright was fun. That was an awesome matchup. He had 16, 5 and 5. And yeah, Matt Young was okay. He was all right. Zylan Cheetah really was their guy on the interior. 14 points, 10 boards. Glidden was awesome with 17 points off the bench. But these late game hits, McVeigh and others down the stretch. Glidden, I really like his form in the preseason. Another high-scoring game from him and 5 assists to go along with it. So some things for the Breakers to take away, some things for them to build on. But nice to see some of the new guys to the league. Cheatham, Crawford, Jackson Cartwright, these types of guys are going to be fun to watch over the course of the season.
Chetham's certainly an excitement machine, and so is Jordan Crawford. Jackson Cartwright as well. They're going to have some fantastic combinations through the year, and I'll tell you what, this was a game from start to finish, a fantastic effort from both teams, learning opportunities, but the one that we've got coming up, don't go too far away, because the man next to me has put together an assortment of next stars that is for the ages, names we are going to remember for a long time, of course, taking part in this one. Alexandre Sarr, who we are going to remember his name, I believe, for a long time to come. Jordan Usher may not be a next star, but I'll tell you what, he's going to bring just as much excitement for this Wildcats group, and he is going to be a fan favourite throughout the year. And of course, Trenton Flowers, who's had a tough couple of games, but we might see him in a couple of different positions tonight and see how he works into this. These are guys that are just finding their way on the professional level. That's all from us right now. Hang around. We'll take a little break and we'll be back with more action. The Perth Wildcats taking on the Adelaide 36ers.